Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, as you seen in title and thumbnail. In this video we are going to see, what if Ash had to rebuild his destiny from zero. This is movie. Also check out the author of this story named, Master of Ages by, Edgy23. And for more comment down your thoughts and like share, also check out my Patreon to support me. All details in description. Hang on, Pikachu. Ash yells, eyeing his opponent's Raiden. After his journeys in the Johto League, he's grown much from the immature, clueless trainer he had started off as. He gained an uncanny sense for sizing up his opponents and exploiting their weaknesses. It had developed to the point of second nature. No, instinct. Misty and Brock looked on as Ash calmed himself down and devised his strategy. Raiden, earthquake. His opponent yelled, Pikachu, use your tail and bounce up. The ground rumbled and shook, making everyone lose their footing. Falling on his butt and losing his league cap. Ash still remained focused on Pikachu. He's still in the air. Misty and Brock, looking up to see if Ash is okay, are surprised to see him still focused on the match. Pikachu, bounce off Raiden's head. With unprecedented speed, Pikachu catapulted off Raiden's head, flipping into the air with the grace of a dancer. Pikachu, use that attack we were working on before. Stonecutter. Ka-Chu. Brock looked on, awestruck by the terrifying attack. Pikachu put his hands on his electric sacs to shape his electricity. Instead of using the usual continuous flow of electricity, Pikachu concentrated all of his lightning into two large, concentrated, razor-like bolts. The two tore through the air, and suddenly, chip, boom mmmmm. Misty looked at the explosion, and then towards Ash, half admiring, half fearful at the same time. She admired the little boy, who looked even better now since the cap, which usually hid his features, fell off his head, but she feared his ability. Something which she had made fun of earlier in their journeys together with good reason. She still joked about his skill as a Pokemon trainer now and again, but ever since his Victory in the Orange League plus his experiences in Johto, and the cunning, ferocious style in which he battled with his Pokemon, her jokes were starting to wear thin, and worst of all, she knew it. Pikachu landed safely on the ground, turning a gaze over his little shoulder, seeing the Raiden on the ground, moaning. It was hurt. Bad. Real bad. Ash, you're supposed to make it faint, not die. There's something called overkill, ya know. Misty yelled. Brock jumped in quickly, don't worry about it, guys. Rock Pokemon's vital organs are deep in their bodies. This one's only cut on the surface. That's what I intended, Misty. Ash retorts. Yeah, right. Misty retorts. Raiden, return. Ash's opponent yelled. His opponent, an 18-year-old super nerd, gets upset at seeing his Raiden get rocked by a Pikachu, who is obviously at a serious disadvantage. Wanting to distract Ash, he says, I see you have exceptional control over your Pokemon, but none over your little girlfriend over there. Simultaneously, Ash and Misty blush and say, I'm not his girlfriend. She's not my girlfriend. Brock looked on, thinking to himself, geez, those two have changed a lot since I've last seen them. Ash's opponent, successful at riling up and distracting Ash, pulls out a Pokeball, go, Alakazam. Psychic attack. Ash and Pikachu are startled. Before Alakazam could pull off its psychic attack, he quickly reacted. Pikachu, cover your eyes quick. A wave of massive psychic energy swept across the field, passing over Pikachu, phasing him slightly, but having little effect. Pikachu stood up, ready for action. How? His opponent asks, standing in shock. Misty, impressed by Ash's move, explains, Ash figured you'd use a psychic attack with a psychic Pokemon. All psychic attacks come in through the eyes. If you close them hard enough, a lot of the attack is blunted off. How about that? Misty, we don't need the science lesson. Can't you see I'm in the middle of a battle? Ash says. Yeah, we don't need you cheerleading your little boyfriend, now do we? His opponent says. Okay, that's it. I'm not his girlfriend. She puts her hand in her red book bag, pulling out a handle. Brock, knowing exactly what she is about to pull out and what she's going to do with it, quickly restrains her. GGGGRRRRRRRR. I never liked him. Never have, never will, she continues, her eyes glaring red. Brock, barely able to keep Misty back, yells, Ash, the match. Oh, right. Pikachu, Thunder Attack. Pika. His opponent commands, Alakazam, counter with Psywave. Alaka. Both attacks are unleashed simultaneously. Chhhhhh. Zom mmmmm. The combined energies explode, the thrust of the explosion sending Pikachu flying towards Ash. Ash quickly catches Pikachu, but also notices something bizarre. The explosion hadn't dissipated, but instead was gaining size and coming towards Ash. Waahhhhhh. He yelped. He attempted to escape, but to no avail. The explosion had engulfed Ash. After the explosion cleared up, and everyone had come to their senses, Ash was nowhere to be found. Nothing could have survived that blast. He was gone. Whoa, what happened? Pikachu, are you okay? Misty. Brock. Hello. Ash and Pikachu awoke, finding themselves in a dark atmosphere. They stood on their feet, looking at the surroundings, and saw nothing save for a strange stairway leading upwards. No, it can't be. Is this heaven? Am I dead? He said to himself. No, you're not dead, dummy, a voice in the distance said. Hey, who is that? Walk up the staircase quickly. We must talk. Pikachu chimed in his 2 cents, Pika Pie. Pikachu Pie Ka Kachu. Ash, we don't have much choice. You're right. Let's go. Ash walked up the stairway. The climb seemed eternal, yet he noticed something weird about the steps. Each step was made of crystal, and at one point Ash stopped to look at one in particular. All the steps had moving images, almost as if each were showing a movie, images of the life of an individual. The woman in this particular step seemed familiar. Mom. He sees her telling him to go to bed early to start his Pokémon journey tomorrow. Another image came up. It was a younger version of his mother, strikingly beautiful, and dating a very slick-looking guy. Delia, I'm thinking of starting up a business. I've talked to some friends and we're all very interested in advanced aerospace and rocketry. Who's that scummy-looking guy? Ew, they're kissing. Ash facepalms. Cha. What the? Pikachu concurs. Another image came up. The younger version of his mom was yelling. It's over between us. I knew you had dreams of starting your corporation, but I can't be with someone who would resort to organized crime. But Delia, listen, Giovanni, you have a choice. Me, or Team Rocket. Ash looks in wonder. Giovanni. Team Rocket. The distant voice called Ash again. You've seen enough. Step on the next step. It is the step of your life. Okay. Ash stepped on the next step. As soon as his foot landed, he noticed his step was frigid, and all the images were frozen. It's freezing. All of a sudden, his step disappeared in a flash of light, and transformed into a floor that expanded into a long hallway. At the very end of hall was a tall throne. A voice from the throne called Ash. Step forward, boy. He walked down, looking at the seeming infinite number of staircases that lined the hallway, until he had finally reached the throne. Well, what now? Pika Pikachu Pikachu Choo. Enough of this, Simon says crap. A dark figure jumped from the throne, quickly materializing from the black of the air. It had the face of a Doberman, fierce and dark, with a bulked up body, a narrow waist, and legs that were bulky yet elegant at the same time. It carried an hourglass, with one side carrying the icon of the sun, and the other end carrying the icon of the moon. The creature frightened both Ash and Pikachu, so much that they both fell back. He fell on the ground. A copious cluster of strange dog-like creatures with clocks on their bellies materialized around him. They chanted, "Watch dog! Watch dog! Dog! Waahhhhhh! Yells Ash. Pika! Yells Pikachu. Shush! The dark monster said. Ash looks on at the monster. Huh! The monster stood in front of Ash, and looked down towards the little boy and his Pikachu. You are puny. It is hard to believe you will become the one who will be known as the Master of Ages. Ash, stunned by his mere presence, responds, Master of Ages. Ash pulled out Dexter and had him scan both the smaller monsters and then the larger monster. Pokémon unknown. No available data. Dexter responds. The larger monster let out his fearsome claw, touching the Pokédex. Dexter reacted mysteriously. Cronine. The space-time Pokémon, the evolved form of Watchdog. This Pokémon controls the flow of time and space with its mystical hourglass. Its psychic and dark energies are infinite and otherworldly, thus making this Pokémon impossible to capture. Ash, surprised by Cronin's awesome powers, flashes Dexter's lens at the flying dogs. Watchdog, the life guardian Pokémon. This Pokémon maintains the time created by individual humans. The length of its tail is related to the length of the life of the human it protects. Cronin, where am I? Why am I here? What happened to my friends Misty and Brock? Ash said, holding back unsuccessfully his tears. Do not fear me, child. Fear not me, but the trials yet to come. Huh, Pika. Cronin waves his paw, and all the watchdogs race. Into the background as our heroes are magically transported to another plane. A panorama of images swirled around them. Some of the images seemed familiar. Hey look, Pikachu. That's when I was at the Indigo League. Wow. And look. That's when we fought our first battle against Jesse and James. Huh. Maiden's Peak. Misty, that night. Pikapi. Cronin growled, silence. Listen to me, Ash, Pikachu. They both stood silent and listened. Cronin continued. These are images of a life you once had, but that has been taken from you. These are now just figments of your imagination. What do you mean? That's my life you're talking about. Not anymore. You never did any of the things you see here. All of your history is gone. Listen to me, young boy, and listen well. Someone tore into the fabric of space-time and kidnapped you in your sleep the night before you set out on your Pokémon journey. As a result, none of what you remember in your mind ever came to pass. You mean? Yes, Ash, look at these. Cronin summoned another swirling set of images, some too disturbing to watch. Ash started looking from the top. A figure in the shadows was talking to Ash's archenemies approvingly. Jesse, James, Meowth. The three of you have captured and stolen Pokémon for our organization with efficiency and exemplary cunning. As a result, you are all to be promoted to Team Rocket's Global Ops Division. Ash was unable to speak. Completely shocked by what he saw. He set a gaze towards an image of his mom, sitting at the table, looking towards her garden, which was perfectly barren. She held a flower in her hand. She's holding my favorite flower, Pikachu. Another image showed Brock, still at the pewter gym. Geez, another month like this and this gym might get foreclosed. Maybe I should sell it. Mr. Giovanni said he'd be interested. A larger image showed a sad Tracy, at the world-famous Pokémon Symposium, with a fat Pokologist. Frankly, I don't know why you even bother with your profession. You're more suited to draw for the funny papers than to do research for any of the scientists of this respected group. Get out. Finally, he looked at an image at the very bottom. It was Misty at the riverside. The very river in which she caught Ash the first day of his journey. Hey, I got a bite. Oh wow, I really think this could be a big one. Ash looks at Misty, happy to see her, yet disturbed by what was to follow. Ah, it's just a Magikarp, may as well capture it. Ash continued looking, feeling emptier and emptier each second as the image of Misty continued. A storm's coming up. I should head to Pallet Town. Misty passed Ash's house, running into Professor Oak and Ash's mom. Ma'am, are you okay? Misty asks. Little girl, this lady's son has been mysteriously kidnapped. We're currently searching for him. I suggest you return to your parents or whomever your guardians are immediately. Professor Oak says. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you find your son real soon. Sorry to bother you. Misty speaks while running away. Misty, Ash muttered under his breath. The last image he saw of her was her heading back to Cerulean City. Cronin, we have to do something. Ash growled. Kachu. Ready for action. Pikachu responded. Perfect, now you're ready for the mission at hand, and a daunting mission it is. Ash, Pikachu, this journey will be like none that you have ever encountered. Enemies will become friends, friends will become enemies, loyalties will be tested, and the dangers will be far greater than the mere criminal organization you know as Team Rocket. No, in the end you will find you are your own worst enemy. And the risk is high, for both your existences and of the friends you knew are at the ultimate stake. Ash, as dense as he can be, had a rare illuminated moment and asked, both our existences. Cronin, if all this really happened, aren't I not supposed to be here? Shouldn't I just have been erased from existence if I never went on my Pokémon journey? Cronin answered, when there's a change in time, the timeline takes a while to realign. I pulled you out of your timeline just before you were erased from existence. At explosion you experienced provided enough energy to pull you out of the continuum. Cronine, how am I gonna go about regaining my life again? I was getting to that. The disruption in time will occur 5 years ahead of your time. You and Pikachu will be sent 5 years to the future to investigate and prevent your kidnapping. It is also advised that you destroy all related time travel RCH as well so that it won't fall into the wrong hands as it has already. Pikachu Pika. I have a question. Sorry, Pikachu, no more time for questions. You'll have to ask the escort I'm providing you. Cronine snaps his pads and says, Watchdog number 122,349,588,477,382,993, step forward. A small, weird-looking watchdog floated awkwardly towards its king, Woof. Satoshi reporting, the watchdog barked. It floated next to Ash. This is the human you were assigned to. Prepare a wormhole for 5 years into the future. Woof, Satoshi responded. With a wind of its clock, it created a wormhole. Cronine halted our two heroes, Ash, Pikachu, before you go, take these. He handed them 2 biscuits and commanded, eat them while you're in the wormhole. Wah, you want us to eat dog biscuits? Ash snorted. They'll provide you with the power you need to complete your mission. Okay. Here, Pikachu. Cha, oh well. As the 3 jumped into the wormhole, Cronine thought to himself, that little boy. Master of ages. Hard to believe. It's better that he doesn't know this, but he holds the fate of everyone in his little hand. At the foot of Mt. Moon, Ash, Pikachu, and his new friend. The watchdog called Satoshi materialized. Well Pikachu, I guess we're here. Without warning, Pikachu shocked Ash and jumped off his head, and made a threatening pose toward him. Ash, bewildered by his behavior, snaps at Pikachu. Pikachu, what's wrong? What? My voice. What happened to my voice? I feel different. Pika, who are you? Pikachu snarled. The both of you stop. Satoshi woofed. Ash and Pikachu simultaneously facefaulted, surprised to hear Satoshi say something other than, woof. Those biscuits you ate have aged all of you 5 years. Ash, you're 17, Pikachu, you're 7. There's no way you can complete the mission having the bodies you had before. It'll take some getting used to, but you have 2 weeks to complete this misseeded by then, Deeses. Trouse chronological repercussions might take place in your world. Ash looked at the time on his watch. It was gonna get dark soon, and the closest city was Cerulean. The trio had concurred that staying at the Pokemon Center in Cerulean would be the next best step. Before he could even take a step, Ash notices something about his attire. My briefs are kinda tight. He looks down and blushes. Wah, my clothes. Satoshi and Pikachu facefo. What am I gonna do? I can't walk around town like this. Satoshi floated towards Ash while Pikachu rolled on the ground laughing. No problem, Ash. I can make you some clothes. It waved its paw, and an envelopment of light surrounded Ash, quickly materializing into pretty hip gear. Wah. Ash reacted as he saw that he was no longer in torn-up kid's clothes, but in good attire. He sported beige khakis, a white t-shirt with a league symbol, and a short leather jacket with a Pokeball embroidered on each shoulder. Hey, these aren't half bad, and these boxers make me feel so free. But my league cap is still missing. You dropped it in the explosion, and I used up all my energy making you those clothes. You'll have to do without it for now. I tied your hair into a small tail. If you don't mind. Okay. And so our heroes travel to Cerulean City, wondering what would happen next on their journey. Somewhere, at one of the Team Rocket sub-base research labs. May. Is the stasis cell okay? Yes, brother. Ash and his Pikachu are still sound asleep. Good. Giovanni is coming tomorrow to see our captives in person. Afterwards, we will proceed with Phase 3 of Operation Shockvolution. Right. Now, proceed with the IV. We can't have our little Ashy and his cute little friend starve on us, now can we? Yes, brother. By the way, grandfather called and asked for his golf clubs. Grr. It was around 6:30 p.m. when Ash and friends arrived in Cerulean. You know, Satoshi, perhaps it'd be best if you went into a Pokeball. You're technically an undiscovered Pokemon, and if other trainers saw you with me, we'd be swarmed by people aching for a battle. Ash suggested. Good idea. Satoshi, return. Ash said as he pointed one of his empty Pokeballs at Satoshi. As he was resisting the urge to say, "Yes, I've caught Watchdog," Pikachu started jumping up and down, pointing at some kind of flyer on the ground. "Huh, what's the matter, Pikachu?" Ash picked up the flyer, which read, "Come one, come all. The sensational Cerulean City Swimming Sisters present the underwater play, Siren's Song, debuting the world-famous Pokémon Master. In her glorious return from the Indigo League, Misty, the invincible, Waterflower." Wah! Ash was stunned, not so much by the fact Misty was performing the old water show, but by how she was described in the flyer. She was a Pokémon Master, fresh off a victory in the Indigo League, apparently. She somehow gained the moniker, the Invincible. Though he had just planned to stay the night at the Pokémon Center. Ash just couldn't resist the tempting opportunity to see how Misty turned out in this alternate world. All her sisters seemed to be on the flyer, all looking slightly older. With a silhouette of a curvaceous figure in the center. "Geez, well I guess we're in for a surprise tonight, Pikachu. Pika Pie, Pikachu Ka Pie, Ash, I have a bad feeling. Another night of this and I'm gonna blow chunks." Violet writes the most awful scripts. The brunette hung out next to the poolside, dangling her finger into the water, playing with the reflection of herself in the water. She pulled out one of her Pokeballs, calling out Starmie into the water. "Hi, Starmie. Rough night, huh?" Starmie responded, using its own peculiar sounds. "It's been a while since I've been back here, yet every time I come here, the place feels colder each time. I should be getting ready for that blind date Daisy set up for me, but I'm not the least bit interested. I feel more like a battle. I just want a little freedom. You know." The doors to the pool swung open. "Hello." A strange voice called in the distance. It was Ash. "Who's there?" "Man, must be my blind date," the brunette muttered under her breath. She looked at the entrance, but couldn't make out who was there, until a few seconds later she saw something small and yellow heading towards her. "Is that a Pikachu?" she asked herself. "Chaw, Misty." Pikachu cheered. "Eek!" the brunette screeched. Pikachu jumps into her arms delighted, but only for a short while. "Pika, what? Get away from me." The girl continued yelling. "Pikachu, come back." Ash growled. He jumps away from the brunette, running behind Ash's leg. "Chew Pika. Something's wrong," Pikachu spoke. "What kind of blind date are you if you're gonna scare me with a Pikachu? You're afraid of Pikachus?" Ash questioned on. The girl answered, "Yes. And just for that little stunt, I'm breaking off our date." The brunette snarled. "Date? Don't act stupid. You're my blind date, aren't you?" Actually no. I came to find a girl named Misty." The brunette surprised Ash by saying, "Well, I'm Misty, and if you're not my blind date, but came to see me anyway, you must be a challenger." "Misty." Ash face-faulted and lightly blushed. He looked at her from head to toe, taking in every curve slowly and nervously. Drops of water glistened from her shoulders and cleavage, catching light from the huge overhead bulbs that adorned the roof of the gym. She was still in the mermaid outfit, the mermaid fin and clamshell bra fitted to her figure. Yet something was amiss. Her crowning glory, the old red hair in a pigtail, wasn't there. Instead, he saw chocolate brown hair cascading into faint curls. "Geez, he's cute, but what a loser. Can't keep his eyes off me," she thought to herself. "Well, I guess I know how Brock feels." Ash thought to himself, almost snickering. "What are you waiting for then, wimp? Let's get this show on the road. I challenge you to a battle." Quote. Ash, never backing down from a challenge, goes along, but not before he and Pikachu both unleashed the hugest sweat drops they could make. "Now I know time is screwed up if Misty's challenging me to a battle," he thought to himself. A calm breeze blew throughout the gym. Misty had changed from her mermaid outfit to what she called her ceremonial combat gear. She wore a tight-fitting short-sleeved t-shirt, accentuating her curvy body, a moderately sized Goldeen skirt, with Goldeen body decor at the ends, a sash which belonged to her father, which she personally tailored to match her shirt, and a Gyarados belt. "Since I'm the Pokémon Master here, I'll make the rules. This will be a 3-on-3 match with no time limit. Just before we start I'd like you to oh no, I finished first place in the Indigo League. I defeated 3 of the Elite Four, and tied with Lance the Dragon Trainer. When I turn 21, I get to join their elite. Do you still want to go through with our match? Ash quivered, but quickly regained his courage. Elite or no elite, you're gonna lose. Huh. Well then, why not make the match interesting then? What d'ya mean? If you win, not only do you get my coveted ocean badge, but a date with me, and I'll pay. Huh. Ash thought to himself. Since he's ever known Misty, he had always had reservations about her, stemming more from a fewer fears than how he actually felt about her. He liked her, he really did, but a date with Misty was something he thought he couldn't handle, even if he had evolved to a 17-year-old. He had no choice now. By some strange twist of fate, he was facing an alternate Misty who was in essence a stranger, 5 years older than the Misty that traveled with him in his reality. All he could do was fight, and possibly gain a powerful ally in the process, and perhaps his old friend back. All right then. Bet's on. Ash barked. Misty calls Fullfrog. Fullfrog. Ash mumbles as he pulls out Dexter. Fullfrog, the fat frog Pokémon. The evolved form of Tadwart, a cousin of Poliwag. Unlike its relatives in the Poliwrath family, pet frogs, gaining both water and dark properties. Ash starts pleading to Pikachu. Pikachu. I know you don't like fighting Misty, but this isn't the same Misty we knew. If we're gonna try and win her confidence, we have to beat her at her game. Pikachu cha Pika Pika. I don't like this, but you're right. Here goes. Before Ash could call out Pikachu, Satoshi jumped out of his Pokeball. Woof. Satoshi. You wanna battle? Ash asked him. Woof. I guess that means yes. Satoshi, I choose you. Misty looked at the ridiculous-looking watchdog and, holding back some laughter, pulled out her Aquadyne. It functioned like a Pokédex, but was shaped like a drop of water, responded by voice command. And had a sexy voice to boot. Aquadyne, identify Pokémon. Misty ordered. Pokémon unknown. No data accessible. Aquadyne replied. Well, whatever it is, it doesn't stand a chance against Fullfrog. Fullfrog, Black Mist attack now. It unleashed a black-bluish smog from its mouth that seemed to sparkle as it floated across the water field. Satoshi, what attacks can you do? Ash asked the levitating dog. Ash, I'll communicate my attacks to you telepathically, and you repeat my words to execute, okay? The two linked minds and Ash said, right. No, Satoshi, howl attack. Satoshi let loose a weird howl that unleashed strange sonic waves into the air. In the blink of an eye, the sonic waves tore through the black mist attack and into Fullfrog. The sheer force of the blast thrust Fullfrog back through the air, flying over Misty's head, crashing into the wall adorned with the painting of Lapras. I am impossible. Misty spoke angrily as she recalled the fainted Fullfrog. Grr. You know kid, you should at least have the courtesy of introducing yourself before you faint my Pokémon. Name's Ash. Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town. Pallet. Sounds familiar. Well, wherever you came from, you're gonna wish you stayed home. Go Dragonite. Ash stood still, remembering the last Dragonite he battled, Dragonite. Aw man, the last Dragonite I encountered took 4 Pokémon to beat. He muttered. Satoshi floated around until it finally ran back into its Pokeball. Ash, I can't continue. I don't have much experience in combat, and watchdogs easily tire down. Rely on your skill. You can beat her. Pikachu. Ash, come on. Well, what are you waiting for, loser? Call out your Pokémon. Misty yelled. I guess I should try my luck with Snorlax. Go. The hefty refrigerator rating, culinary terrorist, Snorlax, comes out, materializing on one of the floating platforms, still asleep. Oh yeah, kid. That's clever, sending out a sleeping Pokémon. Dragonite, Blizzard. Misty ordered. Dragonite unleashed Blizzard, but before it could reach Snorlax, both Snorlax and the platform sunk beneath the water, while the Blizzard attack froze the surface of the pool. SNOOOOORRRR. Lax. Great. The water woke him up just as I planned. Ash thought to himself, Snorlax, Pinpoint and Hyper Beam. Ash loved the sheer power of Snorlax, so much that he trained it to strike at sensitive body parts with his created TM, Pinpoint, increasing the likelihood of a critical hit. Dragonite looked for Snorlax, unable to see it through the mix of ice, water platforms, and stage props left over from the water show. Snorlax's body color also didn't help Dragonite, as it camouflaged it against the blue water. Out of nowhere, a horrid beam cut through the platform, passing through the Dragonite's legs, and ultimately striking full force into its jaw. It sent Dragonite up, then down, splashing underneath the water. Misty stood in shock, seeing her world-famous Dragonite, feared even among the Elite Four, getting rocked by a no-name kid. Dragonite, you still have some HP left. Slam attack it underwater. Little did Misty know Ash's Snorlax was N.O.T. only extremely agile for a Pokémon its size, but it was an adept swimmer. It was too quick for Dragonite. Snorlax. Headbutt, full strength. Ash roars with confidence. LAXXX. An impact was heard, but neither Ash or Misty was able to tell which attack landed. Dragonite surfaced belly up, with Snorlax jumping out of the water, landing on the huge block of ice and waving its blubber in victory. All right, Snorlax. You're getting a big meal on me after the match. Return. Ash yelled, jumping for joy and making a peace sign. This can't be happening. Dragonite return. Misty says, impressed by Ash's tactics. Kid, I have to hand it to you. The only person to go toe-to-toe with me like this was Lance himself. But even he was barely able to handle this Pokémon. Go, Grumpback. Grump. Wah. It's bigger than Dragonite. Ash exclaimed as he pulled out Dexter. Grumpback, the whale Pokémon, the evolved form of Beluga. Its size and strength are feared throughout the oceans of the world. Though it is mainly a water type, its outer skin produces electricity, making it an electric type as well. Aw man, Snorlax needs to rest up after battling Dragonite, and Satoshi is probably still pooped out. Squirtle, Bulbasaur. No, they aren't gonna be able to handle a Pokémon that size. Charizard'll lose easy. Pika. I'll do it. Pikachu jumped in, eager to test itself against another electric type. Do you really think you can win, Pikachu? Ash inquired. Pika. Chu-Pai-Cha Pika, of course. We can pull it off. Pikachu said, charging his electric sax. Before Ash could call out Pikachu, Satoshi jumped out of the Pokeball and psychically linked to Pikachu. Pikachu, I will teach you a new TM even more powerful than Thunder. It is less accurate, so you need to do it up close. Satoshi touched Pikachu's forehead and instantly its knowledge was transferred to Pikachu. Ash, I taught your Pikachu the attack, Electrolysis. You have to get him up close somehow. You can do it. Right. Go Pikachu. Yelled Ash as Pikachu flew forward and Satoshi went back into its Pokeball. Misty, with all the overconfidence in the world says, ha, this match'll be mine. Grumpback, Tsunami Attack. A massive tidal wave formed from Grumpback's fins, barreling towards Pikachu. Pikachu, time to hang 10. Grab onto a platform. Pikachu chooses a platform, digging his claws into the surface. Pikachu. Surf. Ash commands. An experienced surfer, Pikachu rode the wave that Grumpback unleashed, dodging the attack successfully, but ramming into some fake coral, dislodging him from his surfboard. He lands somewhere in the water. Grumpback, Pikachu's disoriented. Dive underwater and use Fin Strike. Misty ordered. Before Pikachu could regain his senses, Misty's Grumpback swam to him and NLE Ashed a massive fin smackdown on Pikachu, swatting him across the pool, hitting the back wall of the pool underwater. Hang in there, Pikachu. Fortunately for Pikachu, the water cushioned the impact he received hitting the wall. But Grumpback was zeroing in on Pikachu, still against the wall. Grumpback, full body slam. Pikachu, swim up and use double team. The little mouse barely escaped Grumpback's attack, and made several copies of itself with double team attack. The behemoth whale was confused. Grumpback, swipe that double team away with Fin Strike. Ash, seeing the futility of his strategy, quickly remembers Pikachu needs oxygen. Quick, Pikachu, swim into that fake coral. Find an air pocket. Misty thinks to herself, air pocket. How did he know about those? And suddenly yelled out, Grumpback. Destroy the fake coral with your body slam. She commanded too late. Pikachu reached the fake coral just in time to breathe just before Grumpback destroyed the fake coral. But Pikachu was nowhere to be seen. Grumpback emerged, looking everywhere to find Pikachu, but in vain. Ash was heartbroken as the seconds passed and still no sign of Pikachu. Where's your little Pikachu, Ash? Misty jeered. I guess I win this one by default since he hasn't surfaced. But we should look for him, just to make my victory official. Grr, he was my friend. You apologize for that, Ash yelled, trying to hold back his tears. Huh, Misty gasped and muttered surprisedly to Herschel cared for it. A remorseful Misty ordered, Grumpback, look for Pikachu. But as Grumpback surfaced and turned towards its master, Ash noticed a familiar yellow speck clinging to one of Grumpback's humps. With vengeance, Ash quickly yelled, payback, time. Pikachu, get in Grumpback's blowhole. What the? Misty asked surprisedly. Pikachu ran into Grumpback's blowhole, stuffing itself into the whale's only source of air. The whale was choking and helpless, and though its size was clearly its advantage, Ash quickly used it against itself. Pikachu, electrolysis. Catchu. Pikachu roared ferociously. Gruum mmmmmmmmpppppp. The Grumpback roared in pain as the Super Concentra. Ted electric field Pikachu created tore into Grumpback on a molecular level, and though it had electric properties on the exterior, its watery interior was well overpowered by the Little Mouse Dynamo. Misty stared into space. I can't believe it. He beat me. She had snapped back into reality, just in time to see her Grumpback fainted and floating on the water, with thick smoke billowing out of its blowhole. And little Pikachu standing on its back victorious. Grumpback, return, she muttered softly. Pikachu, you did it. I thought I lost you there for a moment, but that was awesome. Ash exclaimed as the little mouse swam lovingly toward its trainer. A humbled Misty looked on at the two, and witnessed for once a connection she had never before seen between a master and its Pokémon. I've never met anyone like him. He really does love Pokémon. Ash finishes rejoicing, and looked at the other side of the pool, at his opponent. He didn't know what to feel. During their match, she had spoken inconsiderately of Pikachu's possible demise. It was something he couldn't take lightly. Pikachu, let's go, Ash said, taking the option of just walking away. He didn't want any confrontation with Misty. He didn't feel like quarreling now, but more like mourning the loss of a friend. Wait, Ash, where are you going? You won a badge. I'm not interested in it, he replied. Normally, Misty would be extremely insulted if someone refused the badge, but not now. Something was wrong. Just hold on a minute. You can't refuse the badge. That and you won a date with me. Quote, no way I'd be caught dead with someone who would joke around with the life of a Pokémon, Ash fumed. He stormed out the back door of the Cerulean Gym. It was 11 p.m. Misty wanted to warn Ash of the curfew enforced by the Cerulean police. But he was too far away. I'm sorry, was all she could mutter as his silhouette disappeared into the night. Misty felt a tap on her shoulder. A big, bulky sexy hunk of a man stood next to her, carrying flowers and a lusty, perverted grin. You must be Misty. Sorry I'm late, but I needed to perfect my ravishing hair. All Ash heard in the distance, as he left, was the sound of a mallet crashing down on someone's head. Ash and Pikachu continued through the dark streets of Cerulean City. The place was a ghost town after 11 p.m. Our heroes stopped at the center of town, and sat on the steps of Cerulean's legendary landmark, the Water Mother Crystal Fountain. Ash breathed a sigh of exhaustion, tired from the tense concentration of his tough battle with Misty. You know Pikachu, can you keep a secret? I really miss the old, scrawny Misty. Pika, no kidding, she may've been a pain lots of times, but she was sometimes very nice and eared me on at every match regardless of how bad I might have been at the time. Chew, yeah, but that's just between you and me, right? Pika, yup. Suddenly, a car pulled up in front of the majestic monument. Two police came out. Ash immediately recognized one as Officer Jenny, noticing they were coming toward him. Officer Jenny calls Ash's attention. Hey you. Do you know what time it is? It's 11:56 p.m. Is something wrong? Ash inquired. You've violated curfew. Now, show me your municipal ID. Municipal ID. Oh, I got it, Ash thought to himself as he pulled out Dexter. He flashed his ID to Officer Jenny. But it didn't help him one bit. That Pokédex is an outdated form of ID. You could have hacked in false information on that thing, Officer Jenny said, mindful of her quota. Sorry, kid, but you're under arrest for attempting to deceive an officer. Wah. Ash yelped as he and Pikachu were hauled into the back of the police cruiser and taken back to headquarters. Back in Viridian Gym, three familiar faces are taking to their jobs in the Global Ops Division rather well. They were at one time in their history simple Pokémon thieves, but were quickly promoted to spy, industrial saboteur, and district overseer, ultimately attaining the position of the highly respected and feared Team Rocket executive, directing various criminal operations around the globe. They were affluent players in the criminal world, with money, power, and fear tied to their names. Yet they still yearned for more. You know, James, I'd do my job better if you actually did your share. Oh, but I am, Jess. I'm administrating. Administrate this, you numbskull. Scratch. Scratch. James winced in pain. Ooh. Persian Meowth tired of wasting his claws on James's face, though ever since he evolved, his attacks became even much more painful than they were before. Both Jessie and James loathed Persian Meowth, his behavior having changed drastically since its evolution. They both were used to the old, lovable Meowth scratching them before, but the scratches they received from Persian Meowth hurt much more, for they were not only stronger but had an unprecedented taint of pure hate and conceit. Now, I've just spoken with our leader. As you both know, at the end of the last meeting, Giovanni announced our proposed takeover of the Cerulean Gym. And as you both know, that particular gym is the only one on Encanto that isn't controlled by our organization. James, pushing away one of his hairs, arrogantly chimes in, well, what's the big deal? Why can't we just use old protection racket or bribe the gym leader like we always do? Jessie, always eager to get on James's case, James, how do you keep your feet on the ground with such an empty head? Cerulean City is run like a police state, has an advanced ID system, and has even instituted a curfew for the express purposes of stopping criminals like us. It's too difficult to muscle our influence there. Persian Meowth, the most astute of the three, factors in the last piece of the puzzle. Though Jessie mentioned some aspects of the danger, there is an even greater threat. The Cerulean Gym has been under the ownership of the Waterflower family for generations. Four sisters still hold the proprietorship over the gym. Persuading them to hand over their controlling shares might prove difficult. Jessie said, surprised by Persian Meowth's concern. One of the sisters may prove to be an obstacle. She was this year's Indigo champ. I believe her name was Misty. Persian Meowth Han. Both Jessie and James a folder full of pictures, and intricate details about her, her Pokémon, and the gym's financial ties. I remember her. She's awfully cute, and spunky. James said, a frequent spectator of the league games himself. Misty ripped through her competition without even trying. Exactly, and that is the very reason why I signed us up for the mission of bringing the Cerulean Gym under our control. Persian Meowth said, Jessie and James face-faulting and getting back up to complain. But why us? Jessie says, I thought the reason we were given these jobs was to pose around and goof off. James spat. Persian Meowth growled, listen, you two. This mission is so critically important in the organization's life that Giovanni personally gave his word to me that we would receive say. ATS in the executive board of Team Rocket if we are successful. That is why I signed the three of us up. Now, do we have a problem? Jessie and James were in absolute fictional nirvana. All of their other fantasies about fame, fortune, and romance dwindled away. At the was finally the limit. They were to become board member executives, sitting in the boardroom making the decisions alongside their longtime boss, Giovanni. A streak of lightning flashed across the high window of their office. Jessie started the motto, which had changed since their days as simple Pokémon thieves. Prepare for danger. Ya got that, stranger. To bring the world to devastation. To enslave all peoples into our nation. To annihilate the evils of truth and love. To dethrone the God in the heavens above. Jessie, James, Team Rocket, stalking the shadows of the night. Resist us not or feel our bite. Persian Meowth jumped in between their legs, and unleashed a frightening, sinister purr. Purr rrrrrroaarrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Detective Dripping was about to drive both Pikachu and Ash insane until Officer Jenny broke the symphony. Ketchum. Ash Ketchum. You're free to go. Huh. Come on. Someone posted bail. Ash claimed whatever items and Pokeballs that were confiscated and reluctantly came out to meet his benefactor. He may have been dense at times, but not so dense that he didn't know who had just bailed him out. The only question was why. Hi, Ash and Misty said to each other. She continued, Ash, we need to talk. Get in the car. Ash had no choice. He needed an escort to avoid getting arrested again, and Misty was his only choice of a companion. He and Pikachu got into Misty's Jeep. It was dark blue, and had an alluring, seductive shine to it. They cruised down the streets of Cerulean City, the gentle blue street lights cascading across both their faces. Neither wanted to speak, but Misty ultimately broke the silence. "Ya know, Ash, you beat me pretty bad back there." Ash didn't respond, staring into the darkness of the windshield. "Okay, I'm sorry. I really mean that. I just never met anyone with such concern for their Pokémon. Like if you and your Pikachu were best friends. I'm sorry if I sounded insensitive." Ash interrupted her, "Enough of your apology. Why'd ya bail me out?" "A gesture of goodwill. That and I have a proposition for you." "And what's that?" Misty had driven to a high ledge, a place where several of her old boyfriends had previously taken her. She adored the overview of the city, how she loathed the lecherous company she kept sometimes. Once in a while she would come alone and daydream for hours. Ash, Misty, and Pikachu got out of the car and were led by Misty to a smooth log. A popular sight for couples in the city. "Ash, sit down and look. Wow. Incredible, isn't it? I've lived here all my life." I ran away once, but it didn't work out." "Yeah, I know. Oops." Ash bumblingly answered. Misty somewhat startled, and Pikachu smacking his head. "What? How could you know?" Misty asked. Forget it. Anyway, you had something to ask me about." "Oh yeah. Ash, your skill as a Pokémon trainer could take you places. I hold controlling shares in the Cerulean Gym, and with my guidance and sponsorship, you could become the greatest ever." You can compete in the Indigo League, with me as your..." Ash interrupted, not wanting to lead the girl on. "I'm sorry, but I have a mission to carry out. I can't stick around to compete in the Indigo League." "I'm sorry. Thanks anyway. But Pikachu and I have to leave." Misty couldn't speak as Ash and Pikachu started to leave. But she was curious about something Ash had said earlier, and continued to pester Ash. "Oh really, and what mission would that be?" she said jeeringly. "Waahhh. Well, answer me. What's so important that you would pass up the opportunity to be coached by me?" Ash couldn't reveal the true purpose of his journey. What was he gonna say? He couldn't hit her with the sledgehammer of reality. Just tap her on the head a little with it. He sits down next to her, and looks toward the glimmering lights of the city. "I'm lost. I'm trying to find my way home." "Is that it? Doesn't seem too major to me. If it's not too far off, I'll drive you home." Ash sighed. "No, it's not that simple. Reem. MBER when you said you ran away from home." "Yeah, hey how did you know that? I never met you before. Tell me about the time you ran away from home." Misty blushed. "Well, I had run away for only 3 days. And then I came back." "Tell me what you did, just humor me." "Nothing major really. I left Cerulean, passed through Viridian, stopped by a river to fish, and went to Pallet Town," Ash said, finishing her sentence. How did you?" "Don't question me. Just continue, this time with more detail." Ash knew his approach, and filled in parts of the story she was about to tell. "Okay. It started to rain so I got on my bike. A red bike. And rode my way to Pallet Town. It didn't have a Pokémon Center, so I thought I could find a restaurant. I kept riding along one of the paths. But I stopped to notice an old man comforting a crying woman on the roadside. I asked what happened. They told me her son was kidnapped." "This isn't funny, Ash. Tell me now how you know all these things. Or I'm leaving." I'm a friend you never had," Ash said, holding back tears. "Let me tell you what I remember, from where I come from, Misty." He slowly unfolded his side of the story. About how he had started his Pokémon journey, how he and Pikachu were chased by the Spearows, how he jumped the river and got fished out by Misty, how he had stolen her bike to save Pikachu and destroyed it. And how she had tagged along on his journey. She laughed at first, but stopped laughing when she saw how serious Ash's face was. When he finished, there was a silence, which was broken by Misty, who got up and walked away just a few steps until stopping in one spot. Pikachu jumped on the log, while Ash followed her and stood behind her. I'm not expecting you to believe me. Misty turns around with tears in her eyes. Then why'd you tell me all those things? Are you trying to say the life that I led was some kind of mistake of fate? That all I had worked for and accomplished was by mere chance? Is that why you beat me tonight? To prove your life superior to mine? Ash grabbed Misty by the shoulders. No. What I'm trying to say is that I want my old life back. I'm from another reality. Someone in this reality went back in time and kidnapped me in my sleep before I left for my journey that day. That's why we never met. A younger version of me is being held captive by somebody in this world and I'm going find him. I was hoping you could join me. But I could understand now why you wouldn't want to. I'll leave. I'm deeply sorry I had to tell you those things. Pikachu, let's go. Misty looked on as Ash and Pikachu slowly turned away and started to walk away. Her mind was filled with all kinds of doubts. Yet her heart told her something different. She felt this innate connection with this stranger. What was it that made him seem so familiar? She wanted the answer, so much that she would discard the monotonous, selfish and glitzy life she had carved out for herself. And just for once, do something selfless and unconditionally loving. She called out, Ash. Hey Ash. Misty. I'll join you, but only if you can tell me one more thing to prove you really do know me. Ash looked at her, her face dripping with tears, and cemented his proof with one more comment. I miss that red head of yours. Brown doesn't really suit you, Mist. The two said no more words as they both got into the car, unable to take the smile off their faces as they rode into the moonlit night. Like you just got here. You can't just leave. Who's gonna protect the gym? Daisy shouted as she banged on Misty's door, while Violet and Lily fumbled around a nearby closet looking for the appropriate power tools. Ash and Pikachu had barricaded the door so Misty could gather the essentials for their journey. Daisy, it's none of your business why I'm leaving. I'm 18 and fully capable of taking care of myself. The brunette shouted at the top of her lungs. Ash and Pikachu falling victim to Head and Lily started working on the door's hinges, providing background noise for Daisy's and Misty's argument. Ash and Pikachu had slept in the guest room, but under Misty's advice, awoke early to scramble over to Misty's room to avoid the chaos that would ensue. Ash, recuperating from Misty's yell, talks to Pikachu. You know, Pikachu, the more we hang around her, the more she's starting to act like her old self. Pikachu cha Pika. Is that a good thing? Ash makes a huge sweat drop while Misty keeps pulling stuff out of her closet. Ya know Misty, when we used to travel together, you kept all of your stuff in a red backpack. Misty looked at Ash, still intrigued by his knowledge of her. I've grown up since then, Ash. I'm a woman now. I have more needs and essentials, she said while she discreetly packed some lipstick, tampons, an epilator, a blowdryer, expensive Celadon perfumes, pimple cream, 5 18-hour C-cup bras, 6 blue panties with various water motifs, and her notorious red bikinis into her orange suitcase. Okay. Ash affirmed, as he remembered all the kinds of stuff and junk Misty used to carry around in that little red, pouch-like backpack. Bang. Boom. The door was down and the barricade erupted, sending bits of furniture flying everywhere, bringing Ash and Misty to the ground. They both looked up to see Misty's sisters towering over them, with very threatening drills and automatic screwdrivers in hand. Wah! Ash yelps. Grr! Misty growls. Chaw! Pikachu screams as he hides behind Ash's right shoulder. Huh! All three sisters simultaneously say, as they find Misty with Ash in her room. They all slightly blush at the cute boy and gawk at the two in amazement. The three sisters, with tears in their eyes, thought to themselves, in all of their years with little Misty, have never seen her have a proactive interest in finding a mate. They set her up on so many blind dates with endless failure, they had given up hope. Little did they know they probably had the poorest taste in men to start with. Oh, now I see why you're leaving. Violet said up close to Misty with a weird look on her face. This is totally awesome. Lily said to Ash, with stars in her eyes. Girls, let's get these two out of here. Daisy commanded. Both Misty and Ash kept dumb looks on their faces as Her sisters packed Misty's stuff for her, threw them into their Jeep, and sent them on their way. Like, don't worry about the gym. We'll take care of everything. Goodbye. And so, our heroes drove off into the sunrise. Entirely ignorant and apathetic about what just happened. For them, one thing was on their minds: breakfast. A jagged, gray monster truck rampaged through the outer rim of the safari zone. The chief warden of the safari zone was staying in close contact with Officer Jenny, Roger Jenny. I'll try to barricade the west end, though I doubt we can do anything to stop Brock. It was his trademark granite gray monster truck that gave him away. Though he wasn't always one to cling to the tenets of stealth, you wouldn't expect that from a rock Pokémon trainer. Stone is an element of strength, solidity, and directness. So it was natural for Brock to be honest and in your face, especially if you're a girl. Yet even Brock realizes the need for subtlety and resourcefulness, hence his partner. Brock fumbled for the radio transmitter and relayed, "Duplica, did you do as we planned?" "Sure thing, Brocco, your legend as a bounty hunter will belong to the ages after this one." Duplica shouts into the transmitter. Wearing her Officer Jenny outfit, Brock's monster truck, with a heavy contraband of Chanseys, Kangaskhans, and Pinsirs, barreled down the main valley of the East End. But, unbeknownst to Brock, several police cars and heavily armed reserve Humvees were waiting for him at the very end. "Brock, come in, Brock. I'm halfway down the East End Valley, Duplica." "What's up?" Duplica nervously yells. "I've tapped into the Safari Zone radar detection system. There's a massive group of very unfriendly-looking blips at the end of the valley." "Cops. Duh. Who else?" Duplica snickers. "I got an idea, Dupe. Meet me at the middle. Time to take center stage. I'll be down there. And don't call me Dupe. I'll told you never to call me that. Just get down here or we'll be fighting in a jail cell." Now here's the new plan. The gauntlet was armed to the teeth. They were ready to fire on Brock, inconsiderate of the fact that they would also be firing on the rare Pokémon. The owner of the reserve placed her profits above all else, and it reflected on the way she ran the place. What used to be an inexpensive haven for trainers to catch rare Pokémon had 3 years ago become a lavish, restricted Pokémon country club, where Pokémon were sold to the highest bidder. The irony was that though the reserve's profits soared, much of it went to the owner's pockets, leaving little left for the maintenance and specialized care for the rare Pokémon. The average reproductive rate for the Pokémon has plummeted for the past 2 years. Little does Brock know it, but he's actually committing an act of heroism than an act of crime, all on the estate known as Jessibel Meadows, a franchise of Team Rocket, Inc. The police readied their guns as they started getting something on their radars. He was coming down the valley, but not alone. One of the lieutenants received a radio transmission. "Chief, tell your men to hold your fire. I have a grapple on the vehicle." A voice which sounded like Officer Jenny said. "Jenny, we have orders to fire. You can't pull any heroics now. Jessibel will have our hides if we don't follow through with the order. Then she can have mine too. But there's rare Pokémon on board and I'm gonna make sure they're safe." Officer Jenny steadied herself on the edge of the door of her Humvee, and jumped onto Brock's truck, grabbing onto the bottom of the passenger window which was left open. All the officers looked on as Jenny opened the door and got inside the passenger side of the truck. The chief ordered, "Hold your fire," as Jenny struggled with Brock at the wheel. "Brock, quit messin' around. Get that goofy look off your face. Sorry Dupe, but you remind me of so many Jennys at the same time. I can't help myself." Duplica, infuriated as she can ever be, fumes. "I told you. Don't call me Dupe." As they passed through the gauntlet of police, Duplica unleashed a very long noogie on Brock, which made the officers wince as they witnessed the cranial torture. All of a sudden, Brock's left wheel hit a boulder, sending the truck spinning and knocking police cars in all directions while the cops fled the chaos. By pure chance, Brock's nose became buried in Duplica's cleavage after the impact. "Ah!" Duplica shrieked while blushing. Brock pulled his face out of her breasts. I didn't." Slap, 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 was all that was heard as Duplica unleashed the most devastating double slap technique ever seen, even by Pokémon standards. "Wow, I didn't know Officer Jenny could do that." A policeman commented. "Maybe it's a family thing," though that particular Jenny was awfully short and busty, another one said. The slaps continued on in the distance, as all the cops looked on, wondering if Jenny was going to be okay. Brock and Duplica, bounty hunters extraordinaire, continued on in their journey, but not before stopping at the local Dragonite aid for some Bengay. So back in your timeline, we traveled with a guy named Brock. What was this guy like? Misty asked. He was pretty cool, real wise, and knew where to stick his nose in any situation. Ash replied. Ash. Misty and Pikachu stopped for breakfast at a small restaurant. A bit into the meal, Misty started asking Ash questions about their travels together. One of the topics of discussion was their traveling buddy, Brock. Why did he hang around us? A guy his age should have had a girlfriend to keep him company. He wanted to become a Pokemon breeder, so he came along to hone his breeding friend thing. He had a very soft spot for pretty girls. He'd ask any girl out any chance he'd get, even ones that were probably too old for him to begin with, but without any success. That's too bad. How about you? Did you have a girlfriend? Wah. No, come to think of it. I never bothered to get a girlfriend when I started my Pokemon training. Not since May. But, she was never really my girlfriend to begin with. Quote. May. Yeah, we hung out a lot together when we were younger. She beat me up a lot too, but one day she pecked me on the lips and said she finally learned how to show she cared without hitting me. But by the time that happened, her parents divorced and she left suddenly. I never understood what she meant. Then Gary came. Gary. Ash looked out the window solemnly, with old memories of May still haunting the album of his mind. Gary, he's another story. I don't wanna get into that. He's not important. Misty looked at Ash, getting the sense she hit a sensitive spot about his having a girlfriend. But one thing Misty never falters in is her insensitive persistence. She continues to press on the conversation. Ash, why did I follow you? Initially, why did I follow you? Like I said before, I destroyed your bike and you wanted to tag along until I paid you back. That seems like a pretty stupid reason to me. I could have just gotten my sisters to talk to your mom and a settlement could have been arranged. You're still not giving me a good reason. Look Misty, that's all I can give you. I'm a Pokemon trainer and now a time traveler, but I'm not a telepath. I don't know what went through your head when you decided to join me on my Pokemon journey. I'm sorry if that sounds insulting, but it's the truth. We should go. Wait Ash. Before we go, what are we going to do next? Quote. You said you wanted to go back home, and that I was going to help you. What's our next move? Ash had never considered his course of action. He knew Hi's younger counterpart was being held hostage somewhere in this world, but had no clue where to start looking. Nevertheless, he followed his instincts and common sense and two words came to mind. Professor Oak. If the time disruption occurred in this timeline, he might know something about it, if he's still around. Our next stop is his research lab in Pallet Town. Ash. Also, your mom. Maybe we should pay a visit. Misty softly suggested. We can't. I wouldn't be able to handle it. Misty grabs Ash by the collar and pulls him up close. If you want me to stick around, you're going to paw. Why your mom a visit whether you like it or not. All of a sudden they noticed everyone in the restaurant staring at them. The pair let loose some sweat drops as they laughed nervously and started to leave. Pikachu. Maybe you should let go of that ketchup now. Chaw. Pika-Pie-Chew. No way, man. Then bring it along. I'll pay for it. Pika. Cool. The three left the restaurant with their next destination in mind. Pallet Town. Ash's hometown, where all of this mess started, and where clues to getting everything back to normal might still be lurking around. Our heroes reach Misty's Jeep. But oddly enough there are two kids about their age, and a Machamp wearing a mean-looking vest reclining against the hood of the Jeep. All our heroes could see was their silhouettes. Hey, didn't you learn to respect private property? That's my Jeep. Misty yelled. Yeah, get off her Jeep. Ash chimed in. The two kids and the Machamp got off the Jeep, the Machamp starting to tower above them all as it got off. Ash, Misty, and Pikachu started to shake in fear as they menacingly approached. Misty and Pikachu hid behind Ash, while Ash stood his ground with his arms folded. The blonde boy started talking. Ya know kid. As members of Team Rocket, we were taught that all in the world belongs to Team Rocket, and that includes pathetic little Jeeps like this one. But this particular one belongs to. The raven-haired girl continued his sentence, Misty Waterflower, this year's Indigo League champ. I believe that's you, girl. And who would this be? Your boyfriend. I admit, he is rather cute. But a pretty face ain't gonna help either of you one bit. Ash and Pikachu growled, but Misty added to the tension. Why the interest in me? You should know better than to face off against a Pokémon master. The blonde kid spoke. That doesn't concern us at all. What does interest us is that precious little gem of yours. It's the only one our leader has yet to control. And then the Machamp said in a earth-shaking voice. Hand over the deed or else. Our heroes shouted, shocked at the Machamp's ability to speak. Wah! Ah! Pika! Our heroes were in peril. Two Team Rocket members and a menacing Machamp had ambushed them in front of a small restaurant. Their only option was a Pokémon battle, but not before listening to their motto. For Ash it was an expected task, but for Misty it was something she had never been privy to hearing. The raven-haired Rocketeer started the motto, with her blonde companion alternating verses. Rocket here and rocket there. Rocket Gang is everywhere, terrorizing the nations of the land, taking them in the palm of our hand. Beauty by day, terror by night. Crime is the passion of which we delight. Billy, Kid, kneel before us and feel our wrath, as we tread all who stand in our path. GGGGGGRRRRRRR, that's right. Ash said, Team Rocket. Yet felt weird saying it alone, since the old Misty usually said it with him. Kid, waving some of her hair away, continues. Now Ms. Waterflower, hand over your slice of the deed over to us. Or maybe we should persuade one of your sisters to hand us theirs. You keep away from my sisters, or all. Misty shouts. You can't do anything, little girl. You're in no position to make demands. Machamp growls. But I am. Ash yells, infuriated by their arrogance, one reminiscent of Jesse and James. And who might you be? Billy sneers. I'm Ash Ketchum. Misty's my friend, and if you clowns want her, you're gonna have to come through me. Ash staunchly shouts. Misty blushed, flattered by Ash's defense. But never wanting to be the damsel in distress, yells, butt out, Ash. This is my fight. There's no way these third-rate punks are gonna beat this year's Indigo champ. If it's a battle you want, we'd be happy to entertain. Billy jeers. Kid grabs a Pokeball, go, Flareon. Billy launches his Pokémon, go, Jinx. Ash and Misty look at their opponent's Pokémon and start a small discussion. Ya know, Ash, this isn't even worth the effort. Misty giggled. I know what ya mean. Your Fullfrog can douse the Flareon, and my Charizard can melt the Jinx. What'd you say, Pikachu? Should we show some mercy? Pika, nope. Billy and Kid start to get upset at how their targets are giggling to each other in their conversation. Hey, you're supposed to be trembling in fear of our Pokémon. Kid yells. Machamp angrily roars. Call out your Pokémon or else. Ash and Misty, ever the humble trainers, turn quickly towards their assailants, and simultaneously unleash the appropriate Pokémon. Fullfrog and Charizard pop out, standing menacingly in front of their trainers. Billy, Kid, and Machamp start trembling in fear. Fullfrog, Charizard, Machamp effeminately screeches. Fullfrog, Croak Powder. Charizard, Flamethrower. Fullfrog's Croak Powder, a mixture of explosive bodily gases, quickly envelops the young rockets, while Charizard's Flamethrower quickly ignited the Croak Powder. KRRRAAAAA boom MMMM. The evil trio and their Pokémon get launched into the blue of the sky. That wasn't even right. Kid blathers out. It's the first time we lost a fight. Billy spits. Team Rocket's blasting off for the first time. Ping. Ash, did you know who those people were? They kinda scared me for a bit. Misty asked. Those were members of Team Rocket. Though I never met those two before. When we traveled together in my world, we were constantly fighting against two kids named Jesse and James, and a talking Meowth. Memberus Meowth musta taught that Machamp how to talk. Come on, Ash, Pikachu. We have to get to Pallet Town. We can talk more about our journeys together on the way. Right, come on Pikachu. The pair and little Pikachu raced towards Pallet Town in hopes of finding Professor Oak. But little did they know they are being watched from above as a sinister evil looms in the distance. Father, I knew you'd come. Race towards that little town you used to call home. It will do you no good. And as for you, Misty, you shall feel the joy of father's love, only to have it slip through your fingers. You shall be my dark queen soon enough. And your luscious body will be mine for the taking. A trembling agent cowers and kneels before the fiery being. Master, your meeting with the one called Giovanni for next week has been scheduled. He says his associate, Gary Oak, has successfully utilized the technology you had specified, and has captured the designated target. Splendid. Now, reach Gary and tell him to keep me posted on the development of Little Ash and his Pikachu. Once the proper parameters are in order, we can proceed with Phase 4. Isn't that right, Pikachu? A grayed, colorless Pikachu, morphed out of the shadow of the evil figure. With a red glow in its little eyes. They had the look of pure, unrelenting terror. Chew, what d'ya mean we can't pass through Pewter City? Ash demanded. Yeah, what's the deal? Misty continued. Pikachu was enjoying the last remnants of his ketchup bottle as his trainer and their traveling partner were fighting with an Officer Jenny on a route leading to Pewter City. I'm sorry, but we're on red alert. A bounty hunter named Brock is holed up somewhere inside. Until we find him, nothing goes in or out of this city. Brock. Ash, isn't that the guy, MMMF? Ash quickly puts his hand over Misty's mouth and finishes the conversation. Well, I guess we're gonna have to wait, huh, Officer Jenny? Guess so. There's a large inn a mile away from here. You can stay there until this thing clears up. Ash pushes Misty to the car while Misty protests, hey, quit pushing. Come on, we don't have much time. I have a plan, but we need a place to stay first. They get in the Jeep and ride to the famous Rollin' Golem Inn, where they scramble to find a room. Sorry kid, we don't have one with separate bedrooms. All we have is the honeymoon suite. Ash flusters and sighs, that's too bad. Guess we're gonna have to camp. Misty interjects, we'll take it. Come on, Ash. Don't just stand there. Bring our stuff up and tell me about your plan. Right, Pikachu. Take my backpack and follow Misty. I'll meet you upstairs soon. Chew. Alright. As Misty and Pikachu ran up to their room, Ash pulls out Dexter, and punches up a listing of stored phone numbers. Brock, early in their journey, asked Ash to store his phone number on his Pokédex in case he forgot. Ash, hopeful that the number is still the same in this reality, dials it up on a voice-only phone, aware of the risk he's taking. It rings 3 times until someone picks it up. Hello, Slate residence. Grant speaking. Hi, is Brock there? Ash whispered. What's the password, kid? Wah. Ash face-faulted and made a sweat drop as he thought of what he was going to say next. Password accepted. Lady Luck seemed to be on Ash's side, for his very cry of excitement was the password he needed. Brock speaking. Where are you calling from? I'm calling from the Rollin' Golem Inn. Good. Who am I speaking to? WHOA. Duplica, hold steady. Ash chose the worst time to call, for Brock, Duplica and some of his family were holed up in a hidden basement under his house, their property under search by the police. His father, Flint, aware of his son's whereabouts, is stalling the police during the search. Brock would be in the clear, except that the trap door had broken in 2 while they were crawling in. Duplica was barely holding up the 2 boards, while balancing on Brock's shoulders. Not a good time for conversation, but for Brock, business was business. Now, who am I speaking to? Ash figuring out what to say. I can't give you that over the phone, but I have a job for you. You're at the Rollin' Golem Inn, right? I'll meet you down there in the back lot at midnight. Okay. Right, but how are you going to get past the cops? Leave that to me. They don't call me Brock the Rock for nothing. Bye. Ash ran upstairs, excited that he had made contact with his old friend, but wondering how he was going to convince him to join him on his journey. In Duplica, what was that all about? How did they get together in this world? Too many questions, Ash said to himself. He made it to his room and entered rather quietly, looking for Misty and Pikachu, yet was unable to find them. He tiptoed to the bedroom and took a peek. You know, Pikachu, the more I'm around you, the more I'm losing my fear of Pikachus. Pika Pika. Atta girl. Misty continued, throwing several deep questions, but still. I have a lot of questions about Ash. I wish I were able to understand you. Maybe you could tell me more about him. How exactly did you 2 get to this world? Why did he want me to come along on his journey with him? What made me want to follow him when we were younger in his timeline? There's just so much I don't know. Ash smiled and thought to himself, I wish I knew the answers to those myself. But we'll find them, together. He knocked on the side of the wall and called out to Misty and Pikachu. The two jumped out of the room. Pie, Ash. What took you so long? I was playing around with Pikachu for a while now. What's up? Listen you two. I contacted Brock, and got him to meet with us at midnight in the back lot. What? Misty said with a stunned face. How'd ya manage to do that? A lot of luck, but now I'm gonna have to figure out how to get him to join us. Why do you want him to join us? Misty asked. I mean, don't you think three's a crowd? Aren't we doing pretty well by ourselves? Misty scowled. Misty, he was our friend and traveled with us in my world. We should see how he turned out, and by the looks of things, it doesn't seem he was very lucky if he has the police chasing him. Oh, okay, Misty said, secretly disappointed that it wasn't just gonna be the two of them. It was midnight. Ash, Misty, and Pikachu were waiting outside in the back lot. There was a cold drizzle that tickled them gently as they waited. Misty started to shiver, and Ash took notice. Misty, are you cold? A little, but I'll live. Here, take my jacket. Ash said before taking it off and putting it on Misty. Thank you. Ash softly rubbed her shoulders to warm her up, while Misty stared at Ash, blushing slightly and smiling when he took notice. Ash, still with the mind of 12-year-old, not knowing what to make of Misty's behavior, smiled back. If you don't mind, can you hold Pikachu? I know you don't like. Sure. Misty quickly agreed as Pikachu shook the rain off his fur and jumped into Misty's arms. Not too far by, the recently defeated members of Team Rocket are looking at their targets through night vision goggles, plotting their next course of action. Don't they look cute together? Kid snickered. Not as cute as me, Billy sneered. Both of you are quite ugly in my opinion, Machamp groaned, but that's not gonna matter. This time I'm gonna battle them. Neither them or their Pokémon will survive my awesome might. The Cerulean Gym will be ours, and afterwards, Team Rocket will rule all of this continent, and soon the world. A strange, unprecedented feeling came over her, a warmth in the midst of the cold, wet night. She had always been fiercely independent, traveling to the gyms of the continent, beating the gym masters of the other gyms, dating guys sparsely here and there with disappointing luck. Yet this time she felt differently. Ash wasn't possessive of her like other guys were with her. Though she wasn't one to be under the shadow of a man, she liked how Ash protected her. Not defending her like a piece of property, but empowering her. For once in her life, she didn't feel alone, but secure, cared for. She looked on at her companion longingly, with a small infatuation growing ever more immense inside her heart. So, Ash, it's been 10 minutes. He hasn't shown up yet. Misty said. If you want, you can go back inside. You don't have to stay with me. I can wait for him alone. Oh, no. I'll stay, if you want me to. Ash's heart started to beat nervously. He wanted her to stay. And were he the old Ash, he would have expressed himself rather easily, but he wasn't able to. His age, the hormones in his body were all too foreign to a 12-year-old. His body radically changed from the time warp, but he noticed his feelings had changed too. He felt differently about Misty. He wanted to tell her how beautiful she looked in his jacket holding Pikachu, with the rain shining off her chocolate hair along with her azure-colored eyes and her delicate lips. But he was used to shaking his sentiments away, and denied to himself of what he was feeling. Sure, if you want to, Ash said curtly, not daring to look at her. Misty walks up to Ash. Ash, what's wrong? You don't seem okay. Oh, nothing. I just miss home. That's all. Hey, look, someone's coming. A black sports car sped into the back lot, braking a few feet in front of Ash and Misty. Pikachu unwound his body, pulled his head away from Misty's chest, and poked his head out of the jacket. Brock and Duplica jumped out of the car and walked towards them. Brock stood tall and muscular, with his old spiked hair smoothed out into an interesting array of cascading hairs and bangs. Duplica stood next to him. Her shortness emphasized even more standing next to a monster like Brock. She was very athletic for her age, though her breasts were somewhat huge. Her hair was tied down into a long braided tail. So which one of you called us? Brock asked. I did. My name's Ash. I don't recall giving you my private number. What's your angle? My angle. You said you had a job for us. How are you paying and what are we being asked to do? Ash thought to himself for a moment, remembering the images he saw of Brock back in Cronin's dimension. How about if I tell you I can help you reclaim your old gym in Pewter City? What? Huh? You gotta be kidding me, boy. I sold that gym to Team Rocket. I didn't want to, but I had no choice. Don't joke around with me. I got a family to maintain. Now unless you've got cash. I'm not listening any further. Brock and Duplica paused for a moment while Ash stood silent. They started to walk away until Misty intervened. Hey wait. If you want to be paid, then talk to me. Brock started to blush, Psychedelic anime bubbles of love started glowing behind him. Misty got a questioned look on her face, as Brock pushed Ash aside, and introduced himself. Hi. My name is Brock. I'm sorry if sounded rude to your friend, but me and my partner are in desperate need of cash. Please tell me what's your name and do you have a boyfriend? We used to hang around this guy. Misty thought to herself as she let Pikachu down and unleashed her mallet on his head. Listen, Brock. We have need of your skill as a bounty hunter. From what Ash tells me, you're also an exceptional breeder, so we can use your help in maintaining our Pokémon in top health. I'm the main proprietor of the Cerulean Gym, and am able to pay you handsomely if you'll assist us. Misty looked at Duplica. Your partner is welcome to help as well. What's your name? Duplica, and will you please tell me where you got such a nice-looking mallet? Brock does need a good whack once in a while. Sure thing, Duplica, but for now we should leave since the police are looking for you too. Ash interjected, Misty, maybe we should leave the inn and camp out somewhere. No offense to you too. But we can't risk staying in one place for too long with you guys. Misty concurred, right, Ash. Let's get outta here. All of a sudden, three souped-up and heavily armored motor cycles barreled down the slope surrounding the back lot. They tore into Brock's sport car, with Machamp reducing it to scrap with one blow. The scrap heap exploded, sending huge flames and fumes into the air. The silhouettes of the Rocket members and their bikes stood against the fire and twisted metal. Our heroes looked at them, shocked by their brazenness. Ash stood back in a rather stoic pose and calmly lets out. We're kinda busy now fellas. I'm hoping you wouldn't mind taking a rain check on your next defeat. Kid, with a sinister laugh, says, that's cute, but we're not gonna lose this time. We've brought stronger Pokémon, seeing that you and your little friend are quite the masters. But not before our friend here has a little fun. Machamp, pound him down. Machamp revved up his bike and started charging towards Ash. Gura rrrrrr. Ash held his ground, timing himself to withdraw Bulbasaur's Pokeball, but out of nowhere, Brock called a Pokémon out before Ash could react. Go Hitmonlee. Rolling kick attack. Hitmonlee rolled out in front of Ash at lightning speed. Flip. Wham mm. With one quick well-placed kick, it sent Machamp flying towards his teammates and its bike rolling on its side, leaving a trail of sparks before crashing into a nearby dumpster. Hitmonlee's kick nailed Machamp in the breadbasket. Machamp landed in front of his teammates, and got up. You think that's gonna stop me? Machamp trailed off as he blacked out and toppled over. Billy and Kid looked at Machamp in shock that he had lost a match so quickly and unprecedented. Billy's nerve busted out of his forehead. We lost once, but we aren't gonna lose to you dweebs again. Come on, Kid, let's show these wimps what we're made of. Go Nidoking. Kid, perhaps the most kind-hearted and wise of the group, reluctantly unleashed one of her Pokeballs. Go Primeape. Nidoking, Horn Drill. Billy commands. Primeape, just hang out. Kid yawns. Nidoking's Horn Drill tore into Hitmonlee, feinting it before it could counterattack. Brock quickly withdrew the feinted Hitmonlee, but Nidoking quickly faced our heroes and started charging, leaving potholes in the pavement as it ran forward. Misty, Brock, and Duplica started running away, but Ash kept his cool and stood his ground. Misty, seeing Ash wasn't moving an inch, shouts, Ash, come on. My Jeep's not too far. Come on, Ash, run for it. Brock yells. Ash narrows his eyes and answers, sorry guys. I'm not running from these clowns. They're not gonna threaten my friends and get away with it. Pikachu, remember our fight in Cinnabar Island? How you defeated Raiden. Time for an encore. Pika. Gotcha. Ash Ketchum, perhaps not the smartest guy in the world, compensated for it with his somewhat abnormal strength, super keen agility, cunning and intuition. Of all his Pokémon, he probably resembled Pikachu the most, which was perfect for the stunt he was about to pull. Ash's friends looked on in suspense as he bent his knees and lowered his head slightly. Pikachu climbed up Ash's leg and hid behind his backpack. Nidoking was charging full strength as Ash and Pikachu prepared for a custom technique. 3 feet before Nidoking was about to hit Ash, he tumbled out the way, while Pikachu flipped in the air, and Nidoking stumbled in confusion. Pikachu landed on Nidoking's face and clasped onto its horn. Ash, quickly recovering from his side flip, yells, "Pikachu, Super Thunder Attack!" Pikachu unleashed a Thunder Attack, which, amplified by the rain clouds, morphed into Super Thunder Attack quite easily, sending massive amounts of electricity coursing through Nidoking's body through its horn, causing it to faint. Pikachu somersaulted off Nidoking's face and perched itself on Ash's outstretched forearm. His friends looked on in amazement at how well Ash and Pikachu had coordinated such an extraordinary attack as Billy recalled Nidoking. "You're not getting away with that. Go." Billy was fumbling for another Pokeball. But Kid had stopped him. "No, Billy. Primmy, drag Machamp onto the back of my bike." Our heroes, surprised to see that one of the Rocket members was holding back. Kid, waving her dark hair to one side, talks. "You know, Ash, you're quite an impressive warrior. You battle as if you and your Pokémon were one and the same. Believe it or not, I know about your little situation. Time has a way of falling back on itself. But for some reason, it seems to have fallen on you. When you get your act straight in this world, perhaps you should consider working for us. I'd love to partner up with you." Ash gets a weird look on his face. "Huh." Misty scowls. "There's no way he'd work with a trashy thug like you." You should keep better company, Ash. Her feelings towards you are quite ambivalent. Whereas mine are quite crystal clear. Think about it, Ash. Until then, ciao lover boy. Kid said as she blew him a kiss and left with her comrades. Our heroes looked on as they rode off into the distance. Ash wondered what to make of Kid's apparent knowledge of his time displacement. He stood there, until Misty shook his shoulder. "Ash, snap out of it will ya and let's find a campsite. You're gonna have to tell all of us what we're getting into, and you're the person who can best explain what's going on." "Sorry, Misty," Ash said as he looked into the fire of Brock's destroyed car. "Let's go." Billy and Kid sped down the route, with Machamp recuperating rather peacefully. There was a bit of silence, until Billy found the nerve to ask Kid a burning question. "Kid, not to be nosy, but what did you mean back there when you said you knew about that kid's situation?" "Billy, I'm host to classified knowledge about Team Rocket's top secret ops. I can't tell you." "Then one question. If our mission is just to secure that Misty girl's deed, why are you showing so much interest in that Ash boy? He's not critical to our goal." Kid, peeved at Billy's persistence, fashions an answer. "Ash has taken it upon himself to protect Misty. I'll make a deal with you if you don't ask any more questions. You and Machamp can have Misty's deed and the reward that goes with it all to yourselves. But only if you assist me in capturing Ash as well. I'll only tell you that Giovanni's personally interested in the boy." Billy, giddy at the request, what would Master Giovanni want with that boy? My, what some women will say to have a love toy. But if that's your deal, count me in. A fire burned brightly near the western forest of Mt. Moon. The 4 friends had to backtrack. Because of the increased police activity due to the commotion at the Roland Golem Inn. Everyone had decided to take a rest before continuing with whatever Ash had in mind. Brock was cooking, while Plika had taken it upon herself to check their Pokémon. Pikachu started taking a nap while Misty finished securing the tents. She had nothing better to do, so she decided to check up on Ash. He had taken off for more firewood, but had stopped to take a rest and ponder his next move near a small pond. It didn't take too long for Misty to find Ash. "What's up, Ash? You seem worried." "Oh, don't mind me. I'm just thinking about stuff. That's all." Well, don't think too hard. Though I've already promised them a fair amount of money just a moment ago, you're gonna have to convince these 2 of some pretty unbelievable stuff. They might leave if you say the wrong thing." "Misty, how was I at convincing you?" Well, I mean, you looked like you took my story pretty hard, and I've been feeling bad about it ever since. Misty, a little saddened, Ash, don't feel bad. I have to admit, you did hurt me. Even now, I have some doubts and fears. Then why'd y'all wanna come with me? Ash asked. Misty wasn't sure how to answer his question, or whether she wanted to. She was angry at him for telling her about his situation and even having the nerve to ask her to join him in his quest so bluntly. But she adored the compassion he had in his eyes when he held her by the shoulders that night in Cerulean, trying to comfort her. Whether it was out of love or not, she wasn't sure. Ash had quickly become the sword to her shield, and she wasn't about to let go just yet. I'm just curious. I'm always on the lookout for a good adventure, Misty said, unable to look into Ash's eyes in honesty. Oh, well, if we're dealing with Team Rocket, we're bound for plenty of adventure, don't you think? Yeah, soup's on, Brock yelled in the distance, eager to try out his new recipe. Ash and Misty got up, a little weary of their travels, and eager to chow down. Misty may have agreed to pay the young outlaws, but to receive the most out them, Ash knew he needed to convince Brock and Duplica of his situation and gain their trust in the process. Maybe Satoshi can help me out, Ash pondered as he ran to the campsite. I know you're all probably wondering why an absolute straw Inger like myself is gathering you for my journey. The truth of the matter is that I'm lost and I need to find my way home. Misty, Brock, and Duplica had finished with the wonderful meal Brock had prepared. Pikachu had fallen asleep in Misty's arms and Ash had stood up, eager to explain what was going on. Getting home is a pretty simple job, Ash. I don't know why you need us, Brock said. Be quiet, Brock. Let Ash talk, Misty whispered. Ash let out a sweat drop before continuing, not so simple, Brock. My home is another timeline and another reality altogether, one where I traveled on a Pokémon journey with you and Misty. We shared many adventures, learned a lot from each other, and were in constant battle with Team Rocket. Ash, is that what that kid girl meant when she mentioned time falling on you? Misty asked. I don't know how she knows about me, but she's definitely a piece of the puzzle. But for some reason, someone in this time kidnapped me before I ever set out on my Pokémon journey. That's why none of you ever met me or remember me. This all sounds pretty far out. If all you're saying is true, then who took care of my gym if I left it to go with you on this journey you're talking about? Brock questioned. Your father Flint took care of your gym and your family. But Dad returned just last year. How could he have returned sooner? In my timeline, he helped me power up Pikachu and defeat you. He wanted you to leave home so you can hone your breeding skills, so he took your place. Look, I don't want to get into particulars. I'm confused enough as it is. Is there any other way you can prove your story? I'm quite skeptical here, Duplica asked. Ash grabbed a Pokeball. Go, Satoshi. Satoshi came out and hovered in front of Ash, the illumination of the fire bouncing off his body. Woof. Whoa, I've never seen a Pokémon like that before, Brock exclaimed as he eyed Satoshi. This is Watchdog, but you can call him Satoshi. Ash spoke. Where'd you find him? Satoshi. Maybe you should help. You'd be a lot more convincing. Satoshi hovered above the four, sprinkling strange dust over the fire, causing it to grow into a huge flame which enveloped Ash, but he didn't burn. The sky darkened, and even the ground beneath them disappeared. Everyone was somewhat frightened, except Ash, who has seen even more incredible things before. He stood inside of the flame, which had become transparent, and his friends were able to see him. Ash, stand still and free your mind, Satoshi said telepathically. He did as he was told, and Satoshi floated to the other side of the fire. Now. You three. Close your eyes and reach into the flame. His friends slowly and reluctantly reached into the flame. Surprisingly, they weren't burned, but felt like they were touching thick air. In an instant, they all saw Ash's experiences and memories of them. Misty saw his first memories of her, and how they had become really good friends even if their relationship started off pretty rocky. Brock saw his memories of their travels and the countless gorgeous women they encountered along the way. Duplica, on the other hand, didn't see much, only when Ash and his friends helped her rescue her Ditto and rebuild the Amite house. Though Misty and Brock were Duplica wasn't enthusiastic at all. The fire dissipated into the darkness, and instantly, they were back at the campsite. There was a silence for a few seconds until Misty muttered out, "We should get to bed." Ash concurred, "Right, and if you guys still want to stick around, we'll discuss the plan tomorrow." Brock, always accustomed to calling the shots without consulting Duplica, "Don't worry. Count us in." Duplica, this time however, was not in agreement, but didn't say a word and kept silent. There were only 2 tents available and everyone quickly decided who was taking them. "Duplica and I can sleep in the larger one. We're used to sleeping in close quarters," Brock said. Ash and Misty looked at the smaller tent and before Misty could say anything, Ash responded, "I can sleep out tonight." "You take the tent, Misty. If you don't mind, can Pikachu sleep in the tent with you?" Misty, seeing the clouds from the drizzle still looming, says, "No, I don't mind, but what if it rains, Ash? Things can't get any worse for me than they already are. I'll take my chances. Good night." Ash stepped why not too far and pulled out his sleeping bag as everyone went to their tents, pondering the events of the day, though they quickly found sleep much easier. 3 heavily armed, silent black duo helicopters and a flock of Pidgeots painted black flew across the skies of Neon Town. They were known as the Freefall Gang, a band of small-time terrorists notorious for committing stealthy operations. Expedient arson, theft and kidnapping were their specialty. Their leader, known through the continent's underworld as the Raven, made the gang's living by contracts, and Team Rocket was a frequent client of their services whenever they had a quick and dirty job to get done. Raven, always on one of the choppers, was having a private phone conversation, "So let me get this straight. You want us to go into some small town, kidnap some old geezer, steal his Pokeballs and research data, and torch his pad? You learn fast. Normally, we would undertake the task ourselves, but this job is what you old call an exercise in corporate restructuring. One of our associates needs a little incentive to work harder." Jesse said smilingly. "I see. But I'll have to ask for 5 million this time, since you seem to know this Professor Oak. And you probably want him rather safe. Think of it as an insurance fee. That's rather steep, but it can be done. But if you're gonna charge that much, then do torch some nearby houses. Just to make it all look like just a little accident. Now, Jesse, about that date I proposed." Raven, I'm rather flattered, but I'll take a rain check." "Rain check?" "Yes. Just to give you some time to fondle that extra cash you asked for. See ya later." Jesse cut Raven off, just as he was about to pound the monitor. James was resting in the lounge of their office, looking at an old picture of himself, Jesse, and Meowth, when they used to be simple Pokemon thieves. "We looked so happy. How time changes us all," James sighed to himself as he looked at Jesse. Once a sight he had admired and respected, but over time he had come to pity and feel sorry for. "James, snap out of your trance and come here." "So what's the deal, Jess? Did Raven have second thoughts about our plan?" "No, it's not about that. Gary Oak is what concerns me. I've heard from our mole in the research division that Gary's sister was the one who had discovered and applied the principles of space-time displacement." Persian Meowth, sitting on one of the chairs interjects, "Time travel, James. The ability to traverse ages in an instant." Jesse continues, "There were rumors about some pretty extraordinary breakthroughs in our top-secret research division, so I hired a mole to supply us with information regarding such research. He's currently in the Pokegenics division, working as a research assistant and part-time field watcher. His name is Tracy." James sneers, "Aren't you the resourceful insider? But what if Gary finds out?" "He won't, and if he did, he can't do anything about it. Team Rocket's partially funding his firm's research, so it's not unusual that we keep a close eye on his work." "Then why this plan to kidnap his grandfather?" "Because," Persian Meowth snarled. "Our agent also tells us he's seen Gary debating with his sister about cutting financial ties with Team Rocket and continuing their research with someone else. I figure the two of them need some convincing to stay with us. And perhaps their grandfather might like to contribute to the research as well. If our organization is able to walk across the sands of time, Team Rocket can easily rule this planet. Giovanni doesn't discuss it in so many words, but I know of a massive recruiting campaign in effect next month. I know he's plotting a takeover of epic proportions. Now, let's get on to other business. The Cerulean Gym Leader's Deed." James sneered, Meowth, we're talking about taking over the world by time travel. Why the big deal over a small deed? Jesse ended, that deed and the gym that goes with it holds the final key to taking over the world. A moderate gang of cops surrounded Brock's tent with Officer Jenny heading the pack. Oddly enough, Misty's tent, which was right next to his, wasn't there. They had originally camped on top of a hill steep on one side, and Ash the night before had decided to sleep down the hill on the steep side, hidden from the sight of the police. Misty awoke to the noise of sirens and cops yelling, "You're all under arrest," Officer Jenny yelled as she stuck her flashlight into Brock and Duplica's tent. "Ash, wake up," Misty said, shaking Ash's shoulder. Pikachu, knowing Ash slept like a rock, touched Ash's hand with his tail and unleashed a light thundershock. Wah, huh. Ash woke up to see Misty next to him with Pikachu. "How'd I get in here?" "You looked uncomfortable, so I wiggled the tent over here, but that's not important. Officer Jenny found us. And there's a ton of cops everywhere. We gotta do something." "What can we do, Misty?" "Maybe we should talk to them and clear everything up," she suggested. "That might not work. Brock and Duplica are on the run, and by the looks of the things, we might be thrown in jail too. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but in order to fight Team Rocket, I'm gonna have to become them, a criminal. I guess I don't have a choice now." "Huh," Misty exclaimed in shock. I'm gonna have to fight the cops or I'll be stuck in a jail cell in this timeline forever, but still, I don't want to ruin your reputation as a Pokémon master." Ash paused for a minute and, probably from Pikachu's thundershock, got a brilliant idea. "I got it. Misty, disguise yourself, sneak into the Jeep and get it ready. I'll disguise myself too and handle the cops." Misty snuck out, worried about Ash's decision, but mindful of how right he was in the matter. Fortunately, Ash chose a pretty concealed area to sleep, and even more fortunate, Misty's affections compelled her to move her tent over him. Ash sighed. "Sorry to do this, Officer Jenny, but we need our friends on the run just a bit longer." He jumped out the tent and snuck up the hill and yelled, "Go Bulbasaur! Sleep powder!" The police were caught entirely by surprise. And all of them fell asleep, except for Officer Jenny, who oddly enough, had a gas mask on. "You're gonna have to do better than that, kid." "I'm always prepared," Officer Jenny smirked. She reached for a Pokeball. "Go, Arcanine. Flamethrower." Arcanine came out and blasted a stream of fire at both Ash and his Bulbasaur. The two dodged the fire barely, but Ash, constantly mindful of the battle, commanded his Bulbasaur with ease. "Bulbasaur, trip it with your Vine Whip." Bulbasaur flung his vines, but Officer Jenny retaliated rather quickly. "Arcanine. Ember." Ash knew he was at a disadvantage. For Bulbasaur's vines reached too late, and were severely burned by the flurry of fire Arcanine blasted. "Arcanine. Take down." Jenny commanded with conceit. "Kid. The judge is gonna throw the book at you for resisting arrest of prison in an alternate reality." Pressing him on, commands, "Bulbasaur, Leech Seed." Bulbasaur unleashed Leech Seed, ensnaring Arcanine and quickly sapping away his strength. Knowing the mind of its trainer, Bulbasaur subdued both Arcanine and Officer Jenny with its vines. "Good job, Bulbasaur. Now use your sleep powder and let's get out of here." Bulbasaur quickly put the two to sleep with its powder and returned to its Pokeball. Misty drove up to the campsite while Ash called Brock and Duplica, telling them to hurry to Misty's Jeep before anything else happened. Brock thanked them. "Wow, I guess that means we're cool, huh? Let's go before the cops wakes up. We can talk about the plan on the way." Always the consummate gentleman, Brock threw a blanket on Officer Jenny before getting on the Jeep. "So where's our next stop?" Duplica asked. "Pallet Town," Misty exclaimed, putting the pedal to the floor and speeding out of the forest. "Wah!" Ash yelped, almost getting himself and Pikachu thrown out of the Jeep. Brock, letting out a major sweat drop, whispered to Ash, "Is this how she usually drives?" "Yeah, Misty's a little twisty on the road." Ash muttered back, only to get one of Misty's fingers pulling one side of his mouth. "What are you saying about my driving?" she loudly asked. "Wah. Wah, 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 I basn't talkin' 'bout driven." He blathered out as best he could with a finger in his mouth. "Remind me to talk to your mother about where you got such a big mouth, Mr. Criminal," Misty said with a lusty smirk as they rode down to Pallet. "Clear the path," yelled the Pallet Town volunteer fireman. The attack was swift, precise and as stealthy as Raven's gang was infamous for. Professor Oak Wah's gone and several nearby houses were ablaze, including one very familiar home. The only occupant of the home was trapped in her son's room surrounded by blazes. Ironically, she thought to herself, shish. He was to die in the very room where her son was kidnapped so long ago. Did you call the Viridian City Fire Squad? Yes, but by the time they get here, we won't have anything left to salvage. Our heroes drove down the path to Pallet. Unbeknown to them the recent attack of Raven and his freefall gang. Brock and Duplica were asleep, and Ash was nodding off with Pikachu. Misty was hypnotized by the road, until the distant blazes caught her attention. Ash, wake up. Huh, what the? Look, a fire in Pallet Town. No, Pika. Misty, step on it. Right. Misty put the pedal to the floor, as the shift in inertia awoke both Brock and Duplica. Hey, what's the deal? Brock and Duplica shouted simultaneously. Ash turned around and motioned his hand. You guys. Pallet Town's on fire. We have to do something quick. The little blue jeep sped down the path as fast as it could, reaching the outskirts of the town, but was unable to go any further, as crowds of people were displaced in the streets. Barricaded away by the local firemen, Misty stopped the jeep and quickly jumped out, while Ash wondered what she had in mind. Ash, we have to go to your house, quick. Right. Come on. Pikachu held onto Ash's backpack, while he grabbed Misty's hand and told Brock and Duplica to handle the other fires. Will do, Ash. Brock confirmed. You can count on us. Chimed Duplica. Misty yelled, we'll meet up at the jeep later. As she was pulled by Ash into the crowd towards his house. They reached his home, to find the upper half consumed by fire. Ash, worried his mom might be trapped inside, attempted to run inside. But was stopped by Misty. Ash, you can't. It's too dangerous. I didn't see my mom in the crowd we just passed. I have to make sure she's not in there. He shook her hand off his arm and ran into the house. Only to get held back again. Here, take Fullfrog. He can help your Squirtle battle the blazes inside. Thanks. Pikachu, stay with Misty. Pika, be careful. Ash ran into the house, immediately dodging a falling board that greeted him upon entry. He looked in the living room, the kitchen, and the den, with no sight of his mom. He had to run up the stairs, half the staircase was destroyed by the fire, and there was no way up. Squirtle, Fullfrog, go. He called out the two Pokémon and told them to go ahead and look for survivors. Squirtle, an experienced and proud firefighter, took charge and, with Fullfrog's bouncy body and leaping skills, jumped on his back and hopped over the gap in the staircase. Don't worry about me, guys. Find my mom and protect her. I'll be up there soon. Squirt. Full. I have to do something, Misty thought to herself as she called out all her Pokémon, all of which knew some kind of water-based attack. Starmie, Dragonite, Grumpback, Seeking. Aim your water gun above the house. Misty commanded, careful not to have them directly water the house, knowing the sheer force of any of their blasts could easily crumble it. Be okay, Ash, she let out under her breath. Ash remembered his mom's ladder, which she kept in the basement. He quickly found the basement, got the ladder, propped it up and climbed up to the second floor. Squirtle and Fullfrog had cleared the hallway of any fire, and Ash ran first to his mom's room, and then to his room. Both the Pokémon found his mom and had put out most of the fire. But the roof was still ablaze and starting to crumble. Fullfrog was about to aim his water gun upwards until Squirtle stopped him. Squirtle squirt squirt. No, you'll cave in the roof. Fullfrog stopped as Ash ran towards them. Mom, ma'am, are you okay? Delia, Ash's mom responded, yes, thank you, but how are we gonna get out? Squirtle, Fullfrog, water gun the window. The two sprayed through the window, the shards melting into the patio roof. Fullfrog, carry her out. Squirtle and I will follow you. Ash's mom jumped on Fullfrog's back and with incredible ease, bounced out of the window, off the patio roof, and down in front of Misty and her entourage of Pokémon. Fullfrog, you're here, she said, helping Ash's mom off Fullfrog, but where's Ash? Frog, Fullfrog said as it pointed its suction toe towards the house. Misty looked up to see Ash at the window recalling Squirtle. Ash, what are you waiting for? Get out of there now, she yelled. Pika, come on, Mrs. Ketchum, stunned by the strange girl's words, said to herself, Ash, no, it can't be. Don't worry, Misty, I'm coming out. As soon as he was about to leave the window, the wall surrounding the window caved in, almost crushing Ash. But missing by an inch. Ash, no. Misty yelled, heartbroken, for from her vantage point, it looked like Ash was caught by the cave-in. Tears started to form in her eyes as she crumpled down on her knees. Ash, a little shaken by the near-death experience he just had, quickly ran down the hall. He was able to easily jump down from the staircase and ran towards the front door where he came in. But it was completely obstructed by flaming debris. He then turned around and scrambled towards the back, dodging falling boards left and right, and made it to the back door. Locked. Fire was everywhere. And he was trapped. What now? He thought to himself. Unexpectedly, Satoshi jumped out of his Pokeball. Woof. You know, you should use me more often. Satoshi, with a wave of his paw, unlocked the door. Thanks, Satoshi. Next time. The watchdog ran back into its Pokeball, as Ash quickly ran out the door before the rest of the house caved in. He ran around the house to the front. Looking at all of Misty's Pokemon and his mom trying to comfort Misty, still on the ground holding her tears back. Hey! Ash yelled, is everyone alright? Huh? Misty looked up, seeing Ash running away from the blaze. You're alive, Mrs. Ketchum let go as Misty ran towards Ash, hugging him and burying her head in his coat, wetting it with her tears. Ash, not knowing how to feel, but mindful of how she felt, hesitated but comforted her slowly and lovingly. I'm all right, Mist, he said as she rubbed away her tears and blushed a little. I'll take my mom to the local clinic. You go and help Brock and Duplica pay fires with your water Pokemon. Right. Misty smiled. Brock and Duplica couldn't do much to stop the fires, but they excelled in getting people out of the blazes. His Steelix easily acted as a staircase, and was unique in that he trained it to resist fire. Duplica swiftly escorted people out of buildings. When there were too many people to fit on Steelix, she quickly called her Ditto to duplicate Steelix and provide a second staircase. They had finally reached Professor Oak's estate, which over the course of 5 years, had sprouted a few research buildings. Most of Oak's assistants were out. But some of their children, who liked to play on the roof, were trapped. Duplica, both my Steelix and your transformed Ditto combined can't reach up there. We have to figure something out. Duplica, being the resourceful one of the pair, says, Brock, I'll go up on my own. Just give me a boost. Stay here on the ledge and catch the kids as I drop them down. Got it. Brock, a little stunned, stood there, concerned for his friend, who was about to leap in the face of danger. Brock, come on, give me a boost. She put her hands on Brock's shoulders, while he boosted her upwards with his hands. She easily jumped in the air, grabbing onto the ledge and climbing up. Duplica ran towards the kids and motioned them to the ledge where Brock was waiting. His good physique was capable of handle the task of catching falling kids, and one by one jumped down, were caught by Brock, and ran down the pair of Steelixes. Duplica was about to leave, until one of the kids tugged at her leg. Miss, ya gotta listen to me. We can talk later, kid. You have to get down now. Duplica responded. No, the town was attacked by black Pidgeots with guys on their back. They started the fire. What? Me and the other kids saw him. One of them fell off on this building. He's on the other side. Duplica knew who the kid was talking about from his description. Her and B. Rock were familiar with many facets of the underworld, and no doubt, this was the work of the Freefall gang. She and Brock had tangled with them before, once foiling one of their arson schemes by stealing and freeing their Pidgeots. But it seems that didn't stop them. Go ahead, kid. I'll find I am, Duplica said as the kid left. Freefallers, it has to be them. This is just how they operate. Guess. We can have ourselves a source of information if I capture one, she thought to herself as she ran along the edge of the building, avoiding the fires as she went. Duplica. Brock yelled as the same kid tugged on Brock's pant leg. Mister, the ninja lady left to find the guy in black feathers, the kid said. Huh, what are you talking about? Your friend. She's looking for the guy who rode one of the black Pidgeots. Freefallers. Brock muttered. Duplica, ever the master of stealth and mystery, spotted the injured Freefaller, and ran to him. She noticed he was dazed, so she decided to play a trick. She grabbed some of the stray feathers that fell off his outfit and fitted it to her ninja-like clothing, imitating a freefaller. Dude, like let's get outta here before the Jennies arrive, she said using standard thug slang. Whoa, right on, dude, the dazed freefaller responded. Duplica knew freefallers were very familial and watched out for each other, which is the reason why they were never caught. Fortunately for her, this one's brethren didn't pick him up just yet. She reached the ledge where Brock stood, still waiting for her. Hey, you're kinda short for a freefaller. That and you have big breasts. You're a girl, the freefaller exclaimed, since no girls were assigned on tonight's mission. That's right, thanks for noticing. She blushed as she pushed him over the ledge towards Brock. He fell into Brock's arms, passing out during the fall. Brock looked at the freefaller, smirking a little and thinking to himself, I guess I'll have to handle the interrogation. What are you waiting for, Duplica? Jump down. She stood at the ledge, move out of the way, Brock. I can make it down myself. Brock scaled down the stelixes with the freefaller in tow, as Duplica jumped down with the grace and agility of a cat. The fire trucks finally arrived, though Misty's Pokémon had already squelched most of the fires. Ash's friends, along with their hostage freefaller, reunited at Misty's Jeep and sped up to the local clinic to meet up with him. They ran inside to find his mother and Pikachu, but there was no sign of Ash. Misty was quick to ask her what happened. Ma'am, what happened to the boy who brought you here? He left. He ran off to Oak's lab, in search of something he said. Huh, but it's destroyed. Why would he want to go back there? Misty asked her. I don't know, but he seemed a little disturbed by what just happened. Duplica placed the freefaller into one of the rooms, joining the others later. Brock wondered why Ash had left so unexpectedly and volunteered to find him, but was cut off by Misty. I'll go. You stay here and keep her company until I get back. Right, her friends agreed as she ran off into the smoky night towards Oak's lab, but before leaving, Mrs. Ketchum called her name. Misty, make sure my son's okay. She gently smiled back to her as she ran out of the clinic, curious as to her companion's disappearance. It's all gone. He's gone. Smoke draped across the rubble and broken walls, passing across his body at midwist. He started approaching the charred steps of the lab, waxing nostalgic over a destroyed Pokeball he picked up, reminiscing over the time he was given Pikachu and sent forth on his journey. But in the world he was in now, it never happened. It all seemed like a lost cause now. He was stuck in an EGHT mare of a world, and probably his only chance of ever getting out of it, Professor Oak, was gone. He started to walk away, until the smoke started to get thicker, obscuring his view, and out of nowhere, someone called to him. Hello there. Quote, huh, who's out there? Ash responded a little startled. Interesting question. Look into the smoke and see my form. What? You're not making any sense. Just look, Father. Ash became stunned by what the strange voice he was hearing called him. Huh, Father. He looked into the smoke, and slowly it began to take shape. It developed into a form his height, slowly morphing into something that looked exactly like him, though bearing distinctive features. Oddly enough, it was dressed almost like Ash when he was 10. Who are you? Ash said, you look just like me. It matters not who I am, but the destiny I hold for you. I know of your little problem with time. I know because I hold the answer to your problems. And what might that be? Ash retorted, with heavy skepticism. I am a friend. I have been sent to guide you away from the lies of Cronin and his vile watchdogs. He is the one who is deceiving you. You are merely a tool in He plans to bind the strings of space-time into one, enslaving all humans and Pokémon into a timeless sphere, with him as your ruler. What? You can't be serious. He brought me here so I can save myself from being kidnapped. That is untrue. You were thrown into this world as a slave to do his bidding. In this time and place, the enemies you know as Team Rocket have funded a time travel project, and in doing so, kidnapped you out of your bed before your journey, and are planning to rearrange time to rule the world unchallenged. Cronin, fearful of Team Rocket's imminent rise to power, is attempting to use you to wield the power of the machine for his own purposes. Why should I believe you? The ash-like shadow continued. Cronin can't cross into human time, so he needs human hands to wield the machine. Your hands. Then what should I do? I want to go back home. Very simple. Just hand me the watchdog and it'll all be over. Satoshi. Ash muttered, grabbing the ball. But pausing for a very long moment until the shadow talked. Come on, Ash, what fear do you have of handing me your watchdog? It is merely using you for Cronian's purposes. Ash stretched high. Hand T was interrupted by an approaching voice. Ash, are you up here? Misty called out exhaustedly. The shadow attempted to snatch Satoshi's ball out of Ash's hand, but Ash proved too quick for it, and flicked his hand out of the way. You almost fooled me. GGGRRRRRRRR. The shadow growled, morphing into a cavernous roar. Misty ran into Ash, but he quickly pulled her behind him as he stared down the shadow, which had transformed into a darker mass, pushing away the smoke around them. Misty gasped, too shocked for words to see the dark mass in the form of Ash. Ah, Misty, I see you came looking for father. But little do you know of his hatred. His evil. Still, before I leave you too, let me leave you with these words. Is the love that you seek before you or merely after you? Does it make any difference whether you knew him 5 days ago or 5 years ago? Is helping him regain his existence worth the erasure of your own? Hey. Hey. Ha. 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 The two of them stood there, not knowing what to make of what they just saw. Ash, I'm scared. Don't be. I don't know what or who that was, but it's gone now. We'll talk about it later. We should head back to the clinic. How is everyone? How's my mom? Everyone's okay, but the doctors are giving your mom some oxygen. That and she knows who you are. The pair ran into Misty's jeep and sped off towards the clinic, haunted by the strange apparition they saw in the ruins of Oak's lab. You're here. Great to have you back. Your mother's inside and doing okay. Brock said. Right. I'm going in. Come on, Pikachu. Ash said, taking a few steps. And you too, Misty. I want you to come along, too. Oh, okay. She paused, a little surprised Ash wanted her company now. They walk in, the room half lit as a small lamp shone on his mother's face. Ash steps lightly, noticing her eyes were wandering around the room, until they ultimately fixated themselves upon her visitors. Thank you. God, I knew you'd come back to me someday. She said. Mom, how did you know it was me? Ever since the day you disappeared. I thought of you every day, and saw you grow in my mind. You look so much like your father. I'm so proud. Delia Ketchum said, noticing Misty behind him. Ash, I didn't think you'd find a girlfriend so quick. No, she's my best friend. Her name's Misty. Hi, Mrs. Ketchum. Misty replied nervously. Nice to meet you, Misty. Ash, where were you all these years? What happened to you the night you were supposed to leave on your Pokemon journey? He didn't know how to answer. Ash difficult enough time explaining his origins to his friends, and even found it hard to believe himself. He wasn't compelled to tell his mom his unbelievable story seeing her in her condition. He paused, thinking what to say next. Until Misty interjected. Mrs. Ketchum, Ash, maybe I should leave. You and your mom need some time alone for you to straighten things out and explain what's been going on. Pika pie. I'll go too. Right, Ash said reluctantly. I'll be outside. It was nice meeting you, Mrs. Ketchum. Ash paused for a long moment, bowing his head while his mother strongly embraced him. He uncontrollably started weeping, letting out the details of his ordeal. Unbeknownst to them, Misty observed them from the window with concern, with Pikachu hanging on her shoulder equally concerned. Pika Pie, Ash. Misty, in the back of her mind, was still haunted by what the shadow had said to her back at Oak's ruined lab. She pondered what the smoky figure had said to her before it vanished. Is helping him regain his existence worth the erasure of your own? Yes, she wanted to help Ash, but what would happen to her if she did? She was proud and happy with her life, her accomplishments, and her success. One would normally opt for their own well-being, but before her she saw a wounded and lost boy, someone that strangely inspired her compassion and anger, and by all means posed a threat to the life that she knows. How would she turn out if he returns to his place in the timeline? When Satoshi let her and Brock touch the flame of his mind, she saw the memories he had of her, but none of the sentiment or soul. In the end she was left still with the same question, one inspired by denial and fear: why were we together, Ash? Elsewhere, Brock and Duplica were having a Session with the freefaller they captured. Duplica and Brock had run into a janitor closet and had disguised themselves as police. Brock was in gruntish policeman clothes, Duplica in her Jenny uniform. They walked to the freefaller's room. Running into a Nurse Joy. "We're here to interrogate the perpetrator, Nurse Joy," Duplica said authoritatively. Nurse Joy said, "Oh, you're here rather late, Officer Jenny. You're usually off duty at this hour." The two unleashed big sweat drops, but Duplica quickly responded, "Wherever there's crime, I have to be on duty regardless of the hour. Now leave us alone please, so we can continue." "Okay, if you need me, I'll be at the reception area." Brock couldn't stop blushing and said to Duplica, "Gee, I didn't know Nurse Joy's worked in human hospitals as well." Duplica smacked Brock on the head, "Quit screwing around, Brock, and let's grill the guy before the real authorities get here." "Right," Brock agreed, reaching for some smelling salts and waking up the knocked-out freefaller. He awoke startled, noticing he was strapped to the hospital bed he was put in. Duplica paced back and forth until pausing and setting her eyes to her captive. "I ain't tellin' ya a thing, Jenny," he exclaimed. Brock, always defensive of her literal partner in crime, grabbed the freefaller by the collar and put a pair of tweezers in front of his nose, some feathers falling off as he was pulled up. "You talk to her like that again, and I start plucking, and I don't mean feathers." Okay, I'll talk," Duplica continued. "Now, let's start with your boss." His mother fell asleep without him noticing. And he slowly withdrew his head from her embrace, resting her head onto the pillow. He got up and walked out of the room, looking back every second or so. Suddenly he felt a hand grab his and gently pull him away from the threshold. "Ash, we need to talk," Misty said worriedly. "Yeah, Pikachu, please stay with my mom until I get back." Pika. The pair stepped out onto the clinic's gardens. Exhausted and distraught over the recent disaster that befell Pallet, they sat down on a small stump wearily, yet the full moon comforted them slightly as they conversed. "It's kinda my fault your mom found out who you were. I yelled out your name during the fire, wondering if you were okay." "Fault. Don't act as if it was a bad thing. She found out I'm still alive. That's what counts." Ash sat straight up and looked at the moon, "But now, I don't know what to do. Professor Oak is dead, probably my only lead towards finding whoever was responsible for my kidnapping. Don't tell me you're giving up. Exclamation mark. After pulling me and the others from our lives and finding your mom, you're telling me you're giving up." Ash flared up. "I didn't say I was giving up. I'm not stupid enough to give up. I'll get my life back and make it back to my time no matter what. I just have to think." "Hey, ask Satoshi," Misty said, usually the one with the best ideas. Satos. I popped out the Pokeball as soon as he heard its name. "I see why she's important to you, Ash. She compensates for what you lack in other qualities." Ash groaned. "Satoshi, Professor Oak's dead. He was probably my only lead to find whoever kidnapped me from my time. What do I do now?" "Nothing. The answer will come to you soon. I believe Misty has a more important question." Misty was baffled. "How did you know I wanted to ask something? I can read minds. Now, what is your question? Who or what was that thing we saw at Oak's lab?" Ash concurred. "Yeah, Satoshi. What was that all about? And why did it call me father?" Satoshi waved his paw, and small images formed on the clock on its belly. "The creature you saw, the being, is known as Red. He is a terrifyingly cold, distant mirror dimension. In his world, he became known as the leader Red, the ultimate, legendary Pokémon master, invincible in combat and feared throughout the world. He and his Pikachu were thought to be unstoppable. They had conquered the 8 gyms of Kanto, demolished the combined forces of the Elite Four, and put to ruins the organization you know as the Vile Team Rocket. He's me. Very much so, but he lacks something you have, Ash." "What's that?" "He lacked life. His was a world of data, of silicon. Love and friendship were non-existent there. He committed an awful sin in his dimension. He started to develop feelings. Something no other beings in his dimension were capable of. It is unknown why or how he developed those feelings." Misty stared at an image of Red. "That's so sad." Then one day, he was challenged by a trainer from the lands of Johto. The battle was long and hard, and the mountain in which they battled shook to the foundations, and were felt from the far corners of the world. He lost the battle. and was dethroned by his young challenger. He had developed several feelings, but when he was defeated, he had developed a dark side. Failure, remorse, and hatred filled his heart, causing him to disappear like a ghost from his dimension. I don't have all the answers yet, but I have a feeling he may be behind all this chaos. Believe me, Ash isn't the only one in danger. His plans may threaten this very world's existence. Ash asked, Satoshi, why was it so interested in taking you from me? I maintain your life force, Ash. If I were to fall into someone else's hands, your life essence would be transferred to another person. It is important that I always remain in your possession. Enough talk, I wanna go to bed and you four have to develop a plan to save your existence in the world. Woof. He ran back into his Pokeball. The two stood there, frightened by the images of the one called Red. Misty pulled Ash away towards the clinic. We better talk to the others. All my doubts about you are gone, Ash. If we're going up against someone with power of that magnitude, we're gonna need all the help we can get. Our heroes left Pallet Town, heading for Cinnabar Island region, and landing on a small neighboring island known as Rock of the Sea Ghost, with memories of recent events flashing back in their minds as they faced a small troop of Team Rocket members. Ash, you have to do what's right. If you have to leave, I'll be waiting here. I love you, Ash's mom said crying as they rode off. I'm with you 100%, Ash. Misty said one starry night. Professor Oak's still alive. He was kidnapped and taken to Cinnabar by Team Rocket. Brock said outside the clinic. I don't trust you, Ash, but if Brock's with you, then I'm on your side. Duplica said privately to Ash. Go Pikachu. Go Starmie. Go Steelix. Go Ditto. Brock and Duplica were well aware of how and where Team Rocket operated, and how in their more secluded bases, the security was pretty loose. The free-faller they interrogated mentioned a base near Cinnabar Island. Now all they had to do was get past a welcoming party. The Rocket leader bellowed, you kids are on the wrong island. We're gonna have to clean Yaos out o your Pokemon as a penalty. He and his three partners unleashed their Pokeballs. Go Electabuzz. Go Quagsire. Go Scizor. Go Ditto. They looked at each other's Pokemon and at each other. Well, this is gonna be challenging. There's no real type advantage or vice versa, Misty groaned. That's easy for you to say. My opponent has the same thing I do. Duplica exclaimed. Just great. After this battle is over, I'm gonna have to buy more steel polish. Brock murmured. Guys. We're skilled trainers so we shouldn't have a problem, right? Ash said, very leader-like. The four said simultaneously, right. Pikachu, Pinpoint and Body Slam. Starmie, Psychic Attack. Steelix, Iron Tail Attack. Ditto, Transform. Pikachu, with nasty precision, Body slammed Electabuzz in the breadbasket, while Starmie tore through Quagsire's little brain with Psychic. Steelix horribly dented Scizor's solid exterior with its iron tail, but well. Ditto wasn't as efficient in dealing with its own type. Everyone had finished defeating their opponent save for Duplica, who had, for the first time in her history as a Ditto master, been forced to Eli's the dilemma of facing another Ditto in combat. Misty nudged Ash in his ribs with her shoulder. This is one's for the books, Ash. He made a silly grin as Duplica and her opponent stood confounded. Back in a warehouse in Cerulean. Another pair and a talking cat are busy busting up a rival gang in Cerulean, in anticipation of any information regarding the fabled Pokemon master and local gym legend, Misty. Wheezing. Sludge Attack. Misdreavus, Screech. Jess's Banshee-like Pokemon let loose a high-pitched screech, tearing through the eardrums of the anglers, a nasty band of sailing Uffians who based their operations in the ancient water town. All the anglers and their Pokemon were on the ground, with drips of blood coming out of some of their ears. Persian Meowth, eager to interrogate, picks up the head angler, who has a few connections to the local police. So, you're the one who can best give us some advice. You must know of Team Rocket, right? The angler, eager to laugh at the talking Persian, made a snide remark. Geez, Team Rocket must be on da straits if they're picking on small-timers like us. Even more so if they's starting to hire talking Pokemon. Persian Meowth's index claw quickly shot out, digging into the forehead of the angler. See how that hurts? The less you cooperate, the further it goes into your skull. Meowth groaned. Alright, what do you wanna know? Meowth continued. We need to be able to bypass the curfew around here, and we just need your IDs. That and a little information about the Cerulean Gym and the girls who run the place. The angler looks confused. What's dear to know? Da Waterflower family runs da joint, real hotties dose girls. The head gym leader, Misty's also's a Pokemon master. She ain't around, do. What? Persian Meowth exclaims. Almost letting go of the angler, where is she then? Dunno, but she ain't at da gym. One of our boys wanted to challenge her for her badge, but from what he heard from her sisters, she took off with some guy. Lucky stiff, whoever he is. Real dish, dat Misty. Well, this was unexpected, James said, stealing some of the Pokemon they knocked out during their fight with the anglers. Our target is gone. Strange. I'd expect a Pokemon master to be in more control of her hormones, Jessie sneered. Now we have to track her down. Meowth, ever the perfectionist, continues, your helpfulness has expired. Good night. Scratch. Scratch. Brock whispered into Duplica's ear, did you ever think of just transforming Ditto into one of our Pokemon? It would go a lot faster, I think. But out, Brock. This is about principle. Ditto is supposed to use its opponent, attacks against them. But it only knows transform. Don't you think I know that? Duplica yelled at Brock, her breath blowing away Ash and Misty as well. I got it. Ditto, keep transforming. Ditto kept transforming until all its power points were exhausted. The proud Ditto master yelled, Ditto. Struggle attack. Ditto swiped away at its opponent, knocking it out in just a few blows. Ha. I heard of the legendary attack of desperation, struggle. Duplica had almost a maniacal expression on her face, causing her friends to sweat drop. While their opponents stood shaking in their boots. Guess I'll have to clean up. Go, Bulbasaur. Sleep powder. Ash commanded. The rocket grunts fell asleep on the rocky grounds at the mercy of our heroes. Misty motioned to Duplica, now we can use your expertise. A dark red sports car, sleek and shiny, barreled down the route leading to Vermilion City. Zhiz. Say drove while James was talking on a cell phone. Persian Meowth was in the back, filing his claws to a razor edge. James, as dumb as he might be, some connections in several municipalities, easily able to bribe them with his wealth. Jessie. Get this. Remember that little incident we staged in Pallet with the freefallers? Of course I do, James. I'm the one who hired those flapping goons. Well, Fr. Own what my connections in the Viridian Fire Department tell me, when they went to put out the fires, most of them were already squelched. A young girl with powerful water Pokemon was mentioned in Pallet's local paper just yesterday. It's being faxed to me by my contact. James, you've actually proven yourself useful for a change. A micro printer installed in the glove compartment chugged out some pages of the Pallet Town Crier. The local rag of Pallet. On the front page was a small snapshot of Misty with her hand outstretched commanding her Pokemon among the blazes. Bingo, I've found her. James said. Jessie. Jealous of his efficiency, put him down. Sure, but what makes you think she's still there? She may not be, but you should at least be driving towards there. We're heading to Vermilion. Persian Meowth decided to enter the conversation, the girl and her deed can wait. Our captive, Professor Oak, is waiting for us on Cinnabar Island. There's a chopper waiting for us Vermilion. We're done convincing Gary and his firm in continuing his research with us using his grandfather. We can easily pounce on Pallet and continue our search for the Misty Girl. This Team Rocket suit is itchy. Couldn't we wear something else? Ash whined. No. How do you expect for us to sneak in? Duplica protested. For once I agree with Ash. I want to kick some butt. Brock barked. Will you three be quiet? We're already dressed up and close to the base gate, so shut up. Misty whispered with the most reason. After searching for an hour, they finally found the Team Rocket sub-base. It was encrusted near the valley of an active volcano, where a jewel mining facility, also owned by Team Rocket, operated. Several guards surrounded the area, with rifles and Pokeballs strapped to their waists. Our heroes nonchalantly walked down the valley, making their way towards the central gate. Hey, you! Hold it right there! A fat, female rocket grunt yelled. Wah! Ash yelped in nervousness. Ash, calm down, Misty whispered. All of them stood nervous as the fat lady walked towards them. She made her way towards a trembling Ash, with Pikachu doing likewise. That's such an adorable Pikachu. Mind if I hold it and pet it? The fat lady rocket said, quickly changing from the authoritative voice of a cow to one of a 10-year-old little girl. Sure. After the grunt had her way with a reluctant Pikachu, she gave him back to Ash and yelled, "Lunch is in 5 minutes for you rookies. Get a move on to the mess hall, straight ahead." With sighs of relief, they continued past the gate, using the cards they confiscated from their previous opponents to pass the security checkpoint. Once inside, they ran inside a large utility closet and discussed their plans. Duplica, the master of stealthy operations, laid out the details. "Take these," she said, handing them each a headset to stay in contact with each other. "We have to split in groups of 2, one male and one female." "Why can't we just stay together?" Misty asked. Duplica answered, "We'll have more of a chance to find your Professor Oak if we split up. As for the boy-girl thing, Team Rocket operates that way, for some reason. They pair up a boy and a girl for their teams, usually accompanied by a mascot Pokémon. I'll pair up with Ash and his Pikachu." A disappointed Misty agreed, "All right. Me and Brock will go together. I'll call out Starmie for our mascot Pokémon." Brock, keeping himself from drooling, continued, "When either of us has found the professor, call on the headset to meet on the 4th floor." "Why the 4th floor?" Ash asked. "Before we left Pallet, I used my laptop to download some maps I stole from a job Brock and I did a long time ago for another client. Some of what I stole were schematics for a Team Rocket Island base. There should be an underground dock full of boats where we can escape on the 4th floor, if I'm not mistaken." "And what if you are?" Misty asked. "Then we'll just have to resort to Brock's methods for escape." "And what's that?" Ash asked with curiosity. "Kick butt," Brock yelled in a whisper. Ash and Misty's sweat dropped and looked at each other with a glint in their eyes that said something along the lines of, "I see why they make such a great team." Out of nowhere, a voice echoed in the room not belonging to any of them. It sounded familiar to Ash. "So now, time for us to play." "What was that?" Ash asked with a startled glint. Everyone looked around, quivering in fear of what they just heard. It echoed and seemed to surround them, as if it didn't have a source. "Time for us to play, he. The 4 heroes definitely heard something. It sounded at the same time, both a young woman and a little girl. It carried a dreadful monotone and childish giggle. "Who's out there?" Misty growled, reaching for a Pokeball. "Childish fools, why are you here? You seek the professor. Well now, I am curious. Curious for the boy and his Pikachu. You both seem immune to my mind's powers. For that you must pay, infidel." The room darkened, and in a flash of light, a girl appeared out of thin air. She had a rather deadly beauty, with green hair falling past her waist. Wearing a black skirt with circuited laces draping down her legs. On both her arms were cybernetic augments, with a claw-like glove covering her right hand. "Breathe your final breath, children." "Sabrina," Ash said under his breath. "I am the guardian of Giovanni's holy ground, which you have desecrated. Die, slowly and painfully, he. Thanks for watching, guys. Please make sure to leave a like, share and subscribe. Also don't forget to check out author of this story, the Fullfrog species Evil.